the Keep On Talking Joe podcast. Yeah, I think I nailed it.
Yada, yada, yada. I never heard from him again.
So I'd like to welcome everybody to XYZ. This is a new episode that we'll be interjecting in through our podcast. And I know thousands of our viewers have been asking, but who's that guy behind the scenes?
About thousands, maybe 2 or 3.
Who's that guy behind the scenes doing all that edit work? And and then I'm thinking, yeah, that's the guy that sends it to me. Then I do another 3 hours edit after him.
You're a perfectionist. You don't know how much you want.
I know, I want too much. And that's why we're doing this one again. We already did it
Yeah.
once. But we're about to get this thing dialed in.
I think so.
Yeah, you look skinny. I make you look skinny, dude.
I wish.
I tell you, I do.
I wish I was that skinny, man.
I didn't say you're that skinny, but I make you look skinnier than you are.
Oh, thank you. You need to keep doing that.
So XYZ. This is where X is trying to figure out what the hell Z is doing. My generation tends to I take it kind of hard on every generation.
I think it's every. I mean, look at history. That's every generation. When there's another one beneath them, like
Yeah.
historically speaking, I think they talked about when the typewriter happened, or the printing press. They're like, oh, but kids these days, all they do is read books. It's
Yeah.
And nowadays, like, oh man, kids never read books. It's always been that way. It's a cycle.
Yeah. So just as a note here, guys, before we get started on this podcast, we're going to do it split screen like you're seeing now. And we're not going to do any switching back and forth because that's usually what Tristan does. He kind of produces everything. So this one's just going to be him and I looking at each other. And yeah, so we should have a good time with this. Tristan and I have some pretty in-depth conversations over dinner many a times.
Sometimes
until
food gets thrown.
Yeah, every once in a while something gets thrown. I go stomping off and pouting in my room.
I don't know if this was related, but I do remember a table flipped or two occasionally during
Hey,
discussion.
I think that about every 3 years, a table needs to get flipped.
I mean, it gets it out of your system.
Well, it's not as much it gets out of the system. It just makes sure that everyone takes you seriously.
That's true. Yeah, maybe I should flip a table.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah,
I highly recommend flipping tables.
but
But
the food
it's got to
goes
be
there.
extremely random, and you got to be careful that you don't hurt someone.
Yeah.
So it's always best to, when you flip, to pull, lift, and then flip. That way, it just kind of does a rotation.
Yeah, but that's where the food is, and that's my favorite part of the table. I don't want that anywhere else.
Yeah, I can remember my last flip. That was a big day.
Yeah.
So that's something with my generation too. In my family, our family, and Irish in general.
Yeah,
not known
that's
for their
true.
temperament being soft.
We're like Irish and English and German and Scandinavian and just a bunch of them.
mostly African.
Yeah, you could really show us in the face.
Mhm. Actually, we do have a little bit. When my dad did it, he found it.
Do
was
we really?
a small amount of Ethiopian.
Really?
But I don't know how true all that stuff really is.
Well, I mean, that's pretty good. I had to look into it, but I mean, it's pretty good with, getting DNA and all that.
Yeah. So yeah, that but at 23andMe or whatever those generational things they did, I just heard that they were storing everybody's information. Did you catch any of that?
So you said they were
And we're back.
You said they were storing our information?
You didn't catch any of that?
I did not hear that, no.
Some big deal, man.
So is it just like the genetic information? Because I mean, if they're storing
No.
your your social security and all that's one thing.
It was kind of like they were using the sell of what they were selling to do this, and they've got a huge database now of.
What are they gonna do with it? Like, I mean,
I don't know.
are they gonna clone me?
I don't know. I mean, for me, I've never been highly concerned with that.
I mean, you do take a lot of pride in your Irish heritage.
No, I'm saying with people storing my information.
Yeah, like if the government's watching me, they're gonna be really bored. I don't.
Yeah.
I play a lot of video games. I read a lot of books. I don't really do a lot of.
Have a lot of stuff that would be.
Yeah.
Sensitive information.
Yeah.
In my bank account. You're gonna have to catch it on the right day.
Exactly.
For it to be worth anything to you. Yeah, that was kind of. But my dad he did that, and we were 30% Irish, and.
Are we that much Irish?
Shelby was thought, I maybe misled her thinking because she wanted an
False
Irish boy.
False advertising.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how much, especially in America,
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but is there really that many people who are really like pure any ethnicity anymore? Because we're so.
Yeah, it's
Like,
a melting pot. But
I mean, maybe if you went to like a country like Ireland where the population is much higher, But even then, you're having English people coming in. There's a lot of interaction between cultures.
I think 30% is pretty pretty high level for
Yeah,
our, especially considering that the other 30 is English. So that's,
that's cool.
60% right there. But
Yeah, they put beans on toast. I don't want to associate with
mhm,
that.
yeah. So we talked a lot about politics on the last time, and we might bring a little bit of that up.
Yeah,
Some of our favorite subjects is Donald Trump and
yeah.
Kamala, and
Interesting people.
very interesting people. I'm always trying to make sure you understand that these people are very powerful, but they're not the end all say all. Tristan tends to be a little bit of a doomsdayer.
I don't say a doomsdayer, but
Well,
I'm
you would come
definitely.
in and you say, "Well, he'd come into the shop, and first thing in the morning, I haven't even got rolling yet. Well, it's over. We might as well
Maybe
go
it
and
is. It might be. I
lay
was.
down in the desert and die."
I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. It's a little scary out there.
I guess that's one thing that maybe we could talk about. Your generation tends to give up kind of easy. I think maybe I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know if we give up. I think we're acknowledging that stuff is going to get really, really bad. We can't necessarily we're not necessarily giving up on life per se, but there's nothing I can do about it right now. There's no way I can really alter the situation with my current,
Yeah.
capabilities. So, I mean, I'm going to still live my best life. I'm going to still do what I'm going to do, still try to spread the word, still care, but I
Yeah.
also have to acknowledge when something is really bad and it's beyond my capabilities. I'm not going to, stick my head in the ground and pretend like it's not happening.
Yeah, but you got to be careful too because you're getting a lot of clickbait out there, a lot of headlines, and you're not.
That is true,
You got
but
to really deep dive these things nowadays because you have
absolutely.
really no clue
It just
what is the narrative.
yeah,
If we had a news outlet that we could just be completely non-biased, just
yeah.
completely just tell you the information.
Yes,
But
but I will say with this current administration, they pretty much tell you what they're doing. They'll openly say when they're doing something crazy, there'll be a Twitter post about it.
yeah, but
Uh,
even then, who was I listening to?
Joe Rogan,
No, somebody
that's
on
surprising.
hmm, I listen to a lot of
You
podcasts.
listen to Joe
I
Rogan
am
and Theo
much
Vaughn, and
more informed on you than you are. And I
you're,
will say that because I just got done listening to the governor of California.
I do remember you talking about that.
He was
Yeah,
on Diary of a
CEO.
CEO. Yeah, it's just the name slips my mind right now. That's Newsom.
Yeah,
Newscomb. So I pulled it up, and that's one of my favorite podcasts. I starting to like it. Maybe putting it up for number one for me.
I like a creepcast stuff like the nerdy stuff. I don't really listen to. I get depressed if I listen to more than 2 hours of politics at once.
Well,
So
podcast ain't all about. I
yeah,
mean, it's very rare. With a lot of the podcasts, especially Diary of CEO, man, he has everything on there from kind of like us. We
yeah.
have a rare, and honestly, I don't know that we talk politics that much at all. We had one
We've
politician
had one
on,
politician on. We have a few people come in
kind
talk
of.
politics a little bit, but no one seriously got into it besides him. And even I would say he was pretty reserved about it.
Well, yeah, and he was just kind of giving a need for unity
I
there.
was hoping he'd come in a little angry,
Yeah.
start some fires, but no.
So yeah, I think I'm pretty somewhat informed. I try to keep up with what's going on to a degree where I'm not just constantly.
I try to keep up, but most of my stuff is I hear this, I'm like, it sounds really absurd. There's no way he did it. And then I'll spend about 30 minutes checking, and there's various sources that are like, yep, he did it. And then I'll find a video of him being like, this is my plan. I'm going to do this. And I'm like, oh,
Well,
okay.
it just takes a certain amount of it takes a certain amount of get things done to get things
I mean,
done.
I do agree with
Trump
that. Yeah.
sometimes I will 100% agree that of course, I'm not a president. I'm
Yeah.
not a billionaire. I'm not in his position. But in my opinion, I feel that he maybe jumps. He has some really good things that he's wanting to do. However, he initiates them in such a radical form,
I think
and
he
then he
is.
doesn't try to unify the country.
He is.
If we were to unify the country on these same principles, maybe then,
Yeah. I think we mentioned this the original attempt at this episode. He doesn't feel like the American president. He feels like the conservative president who is targeting the liberals. He doesn't, like if I let's say if I wouldn't hate to be president, but if I became president, I'm very left leaning, but I would still want a better country for all the conservative people in America. I'm not targeting them. My goal isn't to be, haha, I won. Now your life sucks. My goal is, all right, I've won. We might not agree on everything, but we're still both American. We still both want America to be better.
yeah,
So it's my goal is I don't want you to. I don't want. I have friends who are very left leaning, who feel like they might be in some degree of danger because of this current
yeah,
administration. And that's it's saying to me that you feel like you could be in danger because of the person who's meant to represent you.
yeah. Well, you tilt your mic down just a little bit. No, no, no.
Yeah.
the other way. Yeah, there you go. Right there.
Okay.
Yeah, that should do better.
I can see better now too.
Um, yeah, sometimes like you get in a situation, not just Trump, but sometimes people will be so hardcore on trying to prove someone wrong. Then you're like, okay, if you prove them wrong, then what? Then what do they do? Do they just say, "Oh, I was wrong," and flip sides and change completely, or is it something like
And even on the left, you see that a lot. Like,
oh yeah, well they're
there's
not.
a big movement I've seen from people I follow, even, which is the having the day you voted for. Which I agree. I don't think he's a good president. I think he's doing a lot of bad things. But to laugh at someone for suffering because they made the wrong decision, in my opinion, they made the wrong decision. It's not going to get us anywhere. I mean, I could be like, "Hey, listen, this is happening. You need to be aware of who's doing this." But we're not. But I'm not going to blame you further. There's no point in that.
Yeah,
But I would rather someone say, "Oh shit, this was a bad call. Let's not do that next time," instead of making them mad and so they double down.
yeah, I'm 100%. Well, I also think accountability. One person that I've been kind of keeping up with, and I know there's been some backlash on him even. JD Vance, as he was on Rogan and he was saying things like, Rogan would ask him some really interesting, tough questions, and he would come back with, "I'm not,
Oh,
I can't say that I'm." We're gonna have to stop for just a second. You gotta quit looking at the cameraman. You're killing me.
I'm sorry.
Hold on.
I can't. I'm bad with eye contact. You know
Well,
that.
just look at my mic or look at something over
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Okay. I'll try not to.
Yeah, I'm just telling you. It's just
Yeah.
it's noticeable.
Yeah.
I'm only telling you because
I know. I understand. I'm just bad with eye contact. It's hard for
you know.
me.
So JD Vance though, and I am too because I look down at the table. You see me looking all over.
Oh yeah.
I actually, we'll get back to that. JD Vance, he would Joe would ask him a question. He would, if he didn't know, he would say, I'm just really not sure. I need to research that more. I didn't realize all
Yeah.
those things. So
I might not agree with everything JD Vance stands for or does, but I do like that about him.
yeah, anybody who can change their mind too. You got to be able to change your mind.
Yeah.
You got to be able to change what you stand for. And you can't be wishy washy. I was thinking of someone earlier that was doing that. That's just one day they're this and one day they're that. But
It's a balancing act.
I mean, if somebody comes and gives you a valid thing,
Yeah.
I would like to think that I could change my mind.
You have to stand up for what you believe in, but that can't be the point where you stand up for it even when you no longer believe in it. You
Yeah.
can't stick to your guns to the point of winning. You have to stand up. Now, if that belief legitimately changes because of, like, you're if I believe this guy is absolutely innocent of the murder, and then he comes up to me and says, "Hey, by the way, I murdered them," I'm not gonna continue standing up for them. I'm gonna say, "Well, my belief
Yeah.
has changed because of legitimate evidence."
Yeah. Some people stand so strong that, you know, um, even on like religion, people are so strongly ingrained into what they are. And sometimes I'm not even sure that the doctrine is a belief or, maybe something that they believed from their,
Yeah,
a lineage.
and it's
And they're so strong on it that even, like Christ himself or Buddha could come down and say, "No, you guys got it
yeah.
all wrong." And they'd be like, "Ah, you got it wrong."
And I've noticed it with my generation, that sort of alternate version of that, where they believe, like, so let's say Christianity, for example. This is not Christianity by anyone. I don't have any issue with it per se, but I've met a lot of people who are like, "Yeah, Jesus is real. That's the same thing as white bread being real. Why should I care? I have more important things like going to the mall, and not going to the mall or anything, but if you believe that, and there are some pretty incredible things within the text of Christianity. If you believe in Christianity, you at least believe in a creator God or a God of some kind, and it's hard for me to imagine someone saying, "Yep, I believe in this divine force. I just don't really care." There's nothing interesting about that to me. I don't want to delve further into that. And that's very strange to me.
Mm, yeah, considering potential
Your
consequences.
soul is on the line. I would want to know.
Yeah, and that's something I've always said that this is just a blink in the eye. It is a grain of sand buried 8 feet deep on the largest ocean you can or the largest beach you could come across. This if eternity, there's no such thing as a starting point and ending point.
Yeah, which is
Eternity has always been,
a little terrifying.
and eternity will always be.
Yeah, seems a bit
And
claustrophobic.
to say that this little bitty thing that we're experiencing right now could truly affect that is pretty. It's a hard one. It's
Yeah,
a hard one to conceive, and especially not only that, you can then go back and even go putting that on. If you take it all literal, you can put it directly on one person.
yeah.
One person, eons.
Ago.
No, 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 not eons ago, but eons of time, which is really not temporal. It's eons, billions, billions,
Yeah,
even more.
yeah.
Human race, depending on when it ends. is affected by
one
one
person
individual.
for eating an apple, and we're being
Wow.
punished for that. That is I think it's important to clarify. I don't necessarily consider myself a Christian per se. I have some still figuring out where I stand religiously speaking. I have a hard time grasping the idea of a God who is all loving and all powerful, but would bring us into existence with the risk of eternal damnation.
Yeah.
Because I have some people in my life I love, and if I thought there was any potential of them suffering eternal damnation, I would do everything in my power to prevent that. And I mean, not even like everything in my power to convince them to be good. I mean, I would cheat, steal, whatever to make sure. Like the morality stops mattering at that point. Sorry,
Now peaking
sorry.
dramatically. So
Uh,
turn it down 2 or 3. Yeah, I guess when we put the mic in front of you like that.
yeah.
Try it again.
Morality at that point stops coming into play. It is a matter of I care about this person desperately and I do not want them to suffer
Right.
forever. So if God is all loving and all powerful, it's not going to be a matter of I make sure they learn the lesson and say, oh, I can't let that happen.
But what's
That
the
is
point of the lesson? This is
yeah,
where I get, and I don't want this. We are not getting off on Christianity and religion here. This is the last thing we're going to say about because I do not want this to turn into that. But I will say, what is the point of what is the point of the punishment? Is
yeah.
it punishment because you're trying to? Usually, punishment is there to help correct.
Teach a lesson.
And then maybe these things are beyond our ability to comprehend. I get that, but is it punishment because of we're correcting? Then that means if you're going to have a correction, if you are then you correct the way you are, do you get another chance? Or is it just punishment because you are I don't know. So let's not get too much into
Well,
that.
I will say one last thing is I've heard a variety of interpretations of the nature of hell. Some people very much believe that there's people eternally suffering. Other people say there's hell exists, but it's empty, which is a pretty beautiful thing to imagine, I'd say. Some people I've talked to have had the interpretation that people go to hell, but when Jesus returns and revelations and all that happens, everyone in hell is then freed from hell,
Yeah.
which is,
There's a lot of
yeah, there's a lot of
interpretations. There's a lot of
interpretations,
different ways.
which I mean, hell is a relatively new concept in Christian canon, but we don't have time to go into that, I don't imagine.
Yeah, there's a lot there. That's a whole nother discussion.
Absolutely.
So, but let's get a little different here. So, my generation looks at your generation, and I will say that my generation tends to judge
Yeah.
both sides. It judges the
The boomers
boomers,
and the millennials and the
and I truly believe our
Z.
generation was the lost generation. We got to a point where I think it was probably the Industrial Revolution that kind of set us up for this
Yeah,
because
that's a bad situation. I
it.
mean, it's
Well,
good but bad.
I mean, you can't say it was bad because it actually. I mean, you're not going to get where we are without it.
I think in the long term, it had a lot of benefits for society, but in the moment, it sucked for the majority of people living
As will
there.
some things in today's world.
Probably.
Um, but it did set up the fact that people generally before that time would be mostly family business. If you're a farmer, if your family owned, an orchard or whatever, that's kind of how it went. And I do know that my family were farmers. They were cattle and they had large amounts of cattle and land. And then my dad worked on that farm, but eventually went into, a different line of work, and that's just kind of how it went from that point on. And I see that happening a lot. You don't see a lot of family businesses generate,
Yeah.
multiple generations continuing that on.
I think a lot of that is as industrialization grew in America, our idea of ourself grew more and more tied into our work. You go to other nations, you'll say, "Hey, what do you do? What are you?" To a person in another country, like, "Oh, I'm a dog owner. I'm this and this." You ask an American what they are, they'll tell you their job.
Yeah,
So our sense of identity is so tied in our job. If we want to live a happy life, we have to do what we want to do. We can't. And the American idea, if you're not doing what you want to do, you're not being yourself.
right.
So that became very tied into our identity, this
It
seeking your own
had, and
path.
before also you would see family members identify as the family,
Very much.
like the Woodstones.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the Woodstones up there. Oh, he's a Woodstone. Or it's not like, oh, he works over at, the window shop. No, he's a Woodstone.
Yes.
And that pretty much told everybody what you were. If the Woodstones owned a winery, then you were
Part of the winery.
And that's that's a good point there that you bring up. And also there's a lady that I listen to quite a bit. I wish I need to remember her name better, but
Is she the
hmm
motion
yeah,
facial
she
expression
she
lady? I
tells
can't
you
remember
she's
her
on
name, but
deep dives into people, how over time evolution, or not evolution, but how our bodies evolve from being in danger all the time. And we still have some of those instinctive
Absolutely.
qualities, and you can see those in people's facial expressions.
Yeah.
And one of the things she said, instead of introducing you, when you're talking to someone, instead of saying, "What do you do?" Because just like you said, that's kind of what we decided that we were going to. Instead of saying that, she would say something like, "So, what are you into? What do you do for pastime?
You gotta be
What's your
careful how you
hobbies?"
worded that. That's
Mm,
not. You gotta be careful how you worded that. You might,
mm,
depending on who you ask, you might get some information you don't
yeah,
want.
maybe the information you need to know right away.
You don't
You
want
don't
to
want to
avoid
get,
that person. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so my generation tends to want to judge both sides, and when it looks at the younger group, I mean, I got people that work for me. I know I got friends, and they just are so hard on this Generation Z
Yeah.
and the millennials. My wife is a millennial.
Yeah.
She's a,
They got
she's
pretty
an
hard
she's
too.
an elder though,
Yeah. She's.
an elder millennial. So they give them a hard time. But I look back on when I look back, it was no different. I mean, we had hair bands, we
Yeah.
had holy jeans, and our parents gave us hell for that. I mean, you had dudes, Poison, the group, or
Yeah.
any of those
I
hair
was.
bands. I mean, their hair was huge.
I was sorry. I was watching Peacemaker last night, which is a DC superhero show, and kind of a comedy. And the character, he's at some lady's house, and he finds all of her hair metal albums. He goes, "Oh, this was the time back when men were men because they weren't afraid to be women," which is
Mm,
kind of yeah,
I mean, it was over the top, man.
yeah.
The clothes that people wore, and
Well, I know
it was across the. Oh, I'm not going to say gender. It was across the racial boundaries too,
yeah,
because I mean, everybody
just did
in
everything.
some degree,
Yeah,
and it was buck the system. You had back when MTV came into play, and it changed up a lot of things.
yeah.
Um, so I look back at that, and I see the same thing happening again. The only thing I see a little different is that I guess what you would be calling the softening of the generations. They tend to not, and have a hard time faulting them in a lot of those areas too.
Well, I think so. You think of softness, and I am very pro people being themselves. Whatever you are, I don't really have an issue with it. I do think there are some people within my generation who are too sensitive, not because not there's no one deserves to be judged for who they are, but we live in a world that's going to happen. So if you are, something that's out of the norm, it's not that you morally should toughen up because you're in the wrong, but because we care about you as a person, we want you to be able to function in society proper. It's healthy to have a degree of thicker skin, just whoever you are. Though I think a lot of the softness you are seeing, and I can't fault the Generation X for seeing this, is you open TikTok up, the loudest person is going to be the person who's making the most mess. They're going to say
Sure.
something really absurd. And most people in that, you'll see some person within the LGBTQ community say something just absurd. And I guarantee you, most people within the community will look at that and say, the hell are they saying?
Yeah, it's cringe.
But then you'll have some guy who lives in his trailer in Kentucky, drinks beer every day at 4 in the morning, sees it, and that's the only gay person he's ever seen. So in his mind, that's come to represent the entirety of my generation. This,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and let's flip that to over too, because you get the same thing.
absolutely, yeah,
If somebody comes out and says something extremely racial or racist or something misogynistic or something like that, that person is spotlighted.
yeah,
That's not the. That's not everyone. I really start to take. And any straight white men, I'm not taking up for them. See, I have to say that.
yeah.
I have to say that I'm not.
I'm not part of that group, and that
Well,
does.
no, I am a part of that
Well,
group.
no,
I
you're
am a
not
straight
part.
white
You're
man.
not part of the group who's saying these things. You're
But
not.
what I'm saying is, it's I have to say in that sentence that I'm not taking up for these white
Yeah,
dudes because they had it so good. I have to say that before I can say
yeah.
anything else. But I will say that you're judging an entire
Group of people.
group of people off
Something.
of some, you know, um, and honestly, if the majority of those men were the way people are saying, misogynistic,
Yeah,
racist, if the majority of them were all these things, I certainly don't believe we'd be where we are right now, because a lot of those men, I will give you this, In the beginning, a lot of the white men did do a lot of horrible, heinous things. Even then, there was a lot of other things going. Other people did.
Absolutely.
Okay, but then who stopped those men?
There was, I mean,
What? Well, no, no. So what I'm saying
yeah,
is, what made? Why aren't they still in full control? Now we still have racism. We still have
absolutely.
misogyny. We still have a lot of things, but nowhere near to the degree
Yeah,
of where we were. And actually, a lot of the things that we have now are on equal playing form, and sometimes even reverse.
yeah,
So how did we get there? Did the people who were being oppressed stand up and attack to a degree with what they could, but
yeah.
they had no means
It
to
was,
do that.
yeah, they were at
It
a
was
bad position.
other straight white men
Now,
who fought
yeah,
for those
I
freedoms.
will say historically, like the Civil War, the amount that Black people actually participated in the war is underplayed a lot, historically speaking. But
Well,
I do agree with your point that there are a lot of, there in during the Civil War, even back all the way back then, there are people say, no, that's bullshit. You can't treat another human being like that, even if they were a white straight dude. They were still on, yeah,
I would have to say, without looking into the numbers, that I would say there's probably more black people who were slaves that fought for the Confederacy than there were black people who fought for the Union.
I don't know.
I'd almost bet the house on that one,
I don't know. I'd have to
but
look into
I'm
that.
positive.
I'd have to look into that one.
Well, because the slave owners forced them to, or
That
and also
did they
the
exactly?
military
Yeah.
came in and took them. They took them as if they were property.
Did I actually did
So
not know
if
this.
you
Yeah.
and it's even if you watch the movie Patriot, it kind of
Okay.
gives a depiction of that. Um, but if you are in, say, we have a civil war right now, and one side comes in and says, "Well, our army needs your vehicle. They'll take
Yeah.
your vehicle and they'll use it." Same thing. They took slaves
And
who
force
they
them, yeah.
considered property
Yeah.
and forced them to
Which
fight.
is a horrible, heinous act, but
A
yeah.
lot of them,
Yeah.
and but by far, white people were more
Well,
outweighed how
yeah.
many people were black. And I'm not saying that in a negative
Yeah, it's
term.
not
I'm
it's
just
just
saying
a
I'm just trying to make a point that
yeah.
even though white
Did
men were oppressors,
did
they were
horrible
also
stuff.
people who fought for their freedoms.
Yeah.
Someone fought for women to have the rights to
Yeah.
vote, women to have equal pay, which was of course we're still working on some of those things, and we're actually seeing that shift. Somebody had to fight for that,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
and
Oh,
and it's disheartening when people
it,
judge an entire group of people,
yeah.
especially when you're a part of that group and you're not that person.
It is kind of strange though, because in the I exist in very leftist circles more often than not. I don't see a lot of that. I don't not white people. I don't see a lot of people being like, ah, the white people are evil. I see people being like the Nazis are evil. I see people criticizing the fact that a lot of the systems we have in place benefit white people disproportionately compared to other ethnic groups. But I don't see a lot of people blaming white people as a whole, or even really like as like if a bad person does something bad. Very rarely in the groups I'm in does his race come up, whether he be white, black, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I think it would be more so with the straight white men, and maybe I'm just a little hypersensitive, but
Oh,
I
you're
will say
hypersensitive.
that
I think you are probably
I
like I
was
said, you open up TikTok, and if you're not like in specific circles, the people you're gonna see on TikTok a lot are gonna be the very loud people getting the most reactions.
yeah.
So those are real people and they're saying some heinous stuff, but they don't represent the majority of.
Well, no, but even in my personal life, I have people that
Hmm.
not necessarily more so on the misogynistic thing, and I'm like, I'm not that person at all.
Yeah, I've
I'm not
had
that person at all, and I think even most people that are around me will say that I am not a
I
misogynist at all.
I'm
I maybe have some kind of personal traditional feelings,
yeah,
but I'm not going to put those on anybody else.
exactly.
And then on top of that, I'm not a racist person at all. I don't care at all. Oh, and then sometimes you get in trouble for not caring.
Yeah.
You're not, like, I don't care what you do. Well, you should, and then you're there. So those are all issues that I'm getting kickback from, the younger generations. It seems like.
I do think I would say openly I do believe that in society women do have it worse than men. I don't have to worry. I mean, I guess it could happen to me, but it's very unlikely that if I'm alone in the city, I'm going to get raped. That is an incredibly unlikely event to happen to a man. It does happen, but as a full-grown man, I am pretty safe in that regard. And I think it's pretty scary. I gotta imagine that's terrifying for a woman
Yeah,
to
I
have to
get that.
consider that on a daily basis.
Yeah,
I will say though, and I don't necessarily blame women for this. I don't want to be. I'm not an incel by any means. I think societally speaking, though, we have been trained to think men don't feel emotions as much, and because of that, we're less sympathetic. And that is because of patriarchy. We've created the system to benefit a select handful of men, and it hurts everyone beneath it to a degree. And I think a lot of people are like there's the whole male loneliness epidemic. I think a lot of that comes from A, some guys just are really bad at talking to women. B, guys aren't taught to how to interact with people. They're not taught how to uh be in a relationship. Well, I have a guy I work with, you know him as well. I remember driving him around one day and he mentions, "Yeah, my wife left me in this and this," and he's a very boring individual. He doesn't have a lot of personality, and I can guarantee you he was taught at a young age, go to work, don't have a personality because having a personality gets in the way of work. Make enough money, come home, your wife will make you dinner and have sex with you. And then as we develop as a society, women are like, well, I want more. I want more in life than this. And that's, if you have a guarantee you, if you have a man who knows, how to be a person and a woman who knows how to be a person, their relationship will be much more fulfilling than two people who do not know how to interact, but have these I do this, you do this
Yeah.
roles. But men weren't given that opportunity a lot of times. We were still taught to be these unfeeling work machines.
Yeah.
And then we feel abandoned by society sometimes. And then I understand why a lot of women might be like, oh, well, you brought it on yourself because patriarchy sucks. But I do think there's a lack of sympathy from some of the individual guys who don't understand how to interact with society anymore, who feel left behind. And I think we do need to work on our empathy there and how to teach these guys just how to be a person, find things you like to do, because that's really all there is to it. Is it's not you have to completely rewrite yourself. It's just find out who you are. Find out how to look at a woman and say, "Oh, that's a person. I want to talk to her and have a conversation." Find discover that within you, and that's changes how you interact with the world. Because I've noticed a lot of guys in other generations. The way we'll talk about women, they won't talk about them like they're a person. They'll talk about them like they're this entirely separate thing they don't really understand, which is very strange to me when I have a lot of really close friends who are women, and there's nothing romantic between us. It's solely, oh, I like you as a person. You're fun to talk to. I get you. You get the things I like. I like things you like.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Mm. There's definitely over the years there were roles that each person had
Absolutely,
to
yeah.
follow.
Almost a caste
Uh,
system at that point.
yeah, but again, we got to go back to judgment of an
Yeah,
entire group of people.
yeah,
So yes, it sucks if you were a woman and you were afraid to go down a certain street
yeah,
or things like that in a city, which happens even in racial. I
yeah,
mean, there's certain places white guys probably doesn't need to walk through without
yeah.
a friend, without having a buddy.
And there's also certain places where a lot of black people do not feel safe still.
Absolutely, and that was even more so
There's
over
like
the years. I
sundown
mean,
towns still, I'm pretty sure, where people are
well,
less so like around here. Like we live in the country. We don't live in the
re
country,
yeah,
but there are like you go to like Eastern Kentucky. I can't imagine what
you
that's like.
rewind 30 years, and it
Oof.
was really lots of places where black people couldn't
I mean, wasn't
safely go. But let me get to my
Trump's
point here.
apologies.
Was
Sorry, go ahead.
my point was there are men out there that would if they see something like this happen, they're gonna if I go and I
Yeah,
see something even remotely like this, I'm gonna step in. I'm not
absolutely.
gonna yeah. So I don't feel like that someone should be I don't feel like that I should be judged
Yeah,
in the same category as the person who's doing that.
I think what a lot of people don't consider is a rapist is a horrible person. We can all agree on that. Me and you hate rapists. Women hate rapists. I don't think what a lot of people understand is what it feels like to be compared to something you hate so much,
Yeah.
even though you've not done that. Because I
Yeah, that's
it's
you
like
nailed it there.
yeah, it's like being compared to Hitler, who I hate Hitler. I mean, he did horrible things. I don't want
Well, Hitler would
to
have
be a
loved you though.
yeah. I am very much what he I don't know. I'm going bald, and I'm really weird. I don't know if you'd like that. He
Yeah.
might.
Mm,
This one's defective, kind of
yeah.
situation.
But yeah, it sucks when you're compared to people who you
Spies.
yeah.
Yeah, like
That's the part that I really struggle with.
yeah,
Um being seen as that when I feel like I'm the opposite and I actually probably stand up. I am a pretty outspoken
you
person
are.
in certain situations.
Yeah,
If I'm out and I see someone do a good thing, I don't let it go by. I'm like, "Hey, that was awesome what you did there.
yeah.
Here, let me buy your
I
dessert
remember.
or something," or even you know, if I see something, I'm going to say something, whether
Absolutely.
it's good or bad. If it's bad, I'm going to be like, whoa, 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 what's going on? And I will step in.
Yeah.
And, to be put in that other position makes me feel, ugh.
It is very unpleasant.
Yeah.
I remember it was at a restaurant with you, and some late waitress was having a really bad something went wrong, It happens because customer service sucks. And a lot of people would be very rude about it. But this lady was like, "Oh no, I understand. It's fine. All this, and this." And she was really sweet
Yeah. I
to
think
the
the girl
lady.
spilt the drinks on
Yeah,
them or
and then
something.
you end up paying for her dinner because that act of kindness. And I mean, it's a little sad that today's world that being kind to customer service is such an act of kindness, but it truly is at this point. And
Yeah.
I think it's the fact that you notice these things and because
Well, and, it's frustrating when you're at a restaurant and you think like your waitresses or waiter, your, so you got to be careful what you think. They, they may not be giving you the attention you think you should get, or, maybe to spend a little more time with others. And that's a sense of entitlement that we
yeah.
got too, that we're
Now
entitled to something because we paid $10. But
I will say there are some people. I'm not going to be rude to these people. I've encountered occasional times when some people should not be within customer service.
yeah,
They just it's bad for them. They're having a horrible time, and it's bad for the person who's trying to get service because there's a difference between I paid $10 and you're being slow to I paid $10 and I'm not getting anything back. I'm getting everything wrong. And that's just
yeah.
that person is
But there's also moments.
yeah, there's also
There are
moments. There's times that
times
you're
when
just
I have had a really, really bad day, and
yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking about all the stuff that I need to get accomplished, and I'm sitting here talking on a podcast, and I may not be as in tune to the podcast because my
Absolutely, yeah.
mind, so
Absolutely. Like I'm not going to judge a person on an
I
individual
will never,
unless someone's actually rude to me. Like they come in and they're like, my goal is to upset this
yeah,
person. But like I just sometimes have been in a restaurant where I'm like, I'm not mad at the person per se. I just it's not their skill set.
yeah,
And some people are horrible with people, and that's fine. Not everyone's designed to talk to people. That's we shouldn't culturally pressure these people to be in positions that make them miserable because it's a zero gain situation.
okay. So we're gonna have to switch gears here because we're agreeing on too much.
Yeah.
Everybody come here to see us
What
talk
do you think
shit
about
about each other.
socialism? Let's get this going.
Mm. Well, we said we wasn't going to get right into politics right away.
Okay, we'll keep that.
Um, but what I did see a lot of, and I know the COVID probably brought on a lot of this. I think when you here's the problem with softness in our society. What is the saying that hard men create easy times and
Yeah.
easy times create soft men and
It's
soft
more
men.
complicated than that, but that is definitely a factor.
But in the same respect, if you give in, and unfortunately, man, this is a tough one too. If you give in to someone that is, I don't really know how to say it, someone who's kind of hitting themselves.
Yeah.
If you let that slide, if you start to give them traction, they'll take off with it a lot of times.
Not every person, but
And
some
not every
some
person, but
people will. You got to be
we're
careful,
living
yeah.
in a world with 8 billion
Yeah.
people.
There's going
Okay,
to be one of everything,
8 billion
yeah.
people. You're going to have to interact with all these people, and I have noticed that, like back when we had the freaking universities with the crying rooms. I mean, and they were crying because Trump got into whatever. There is a certain amount of pluck, a certain amount of
Yeah.
buck it up. I mean, if you got to go
Now,
cry and I
I will say,
understand that
because
that is
like,
a highlighted
yeah,
instance or not. Maybe I'm being hypocritical, which I
yeah,
have some very hypocritical
yeah,
attributes, but I know we're seeing maybe just because everyone always brings up the cat in school. The girl thinks
which
she's a
wasn't a real
cat, and
story.
they put they were
Yeah.
wanting them to put litter boxes in.
There was a picture they used. It came from an airport,
Yeah,
which was for cats. They went on this. I'm a. I gotta say, I don't. Some furries are weird, and there are some bad people who identify as furries. But
yeah.
on an average, it's just a weird subgroup of people who are just doing their own. I don't just want to be part of it, but like you can do that.
Well,
That's fine.
I think you got to kind of switch to weird to odd. They're odd. They're not
They're definitely weird.
mainstream.
Like
Yeah,
I'll say, I mean, I'm weird, but there are people out there. You're to say, oh, that's strange. Now, I'm not taking. I don't have anything against it, but it's definitely strange. And yeah, that's just
yeah,
part of the world we live in. I have friends who I'm like, dude, you're fucking weird, and they're like, yeah, I am. There's nothing wrong with it, but you have
yeah.
to acknowledge it. You have to
I think that we
embrace
also
it.
have to look back and think it's nothing new.
Oh yeah,
It's nothing new. And sometimes the older you get, I can remember when I was a young man and I was talking to a guy that I worked with, and I was explaining him a situation that I was in, and it was very what I considered what would be only a modern situation. It's like, man, you're preaching to the choir. I X back when I was in
yeah,
1920.
exactly.
these things are nothing. There's always been extremely weird
Well, really, yeah. I mean,
subsets of the
you go back to like
human
the
race.
Greeks.
Yeah,
They had a whole island of lesbians. Like they did some,
yeah.
they did stuff, they did
It's
everything. Not all
yeah.
of it was. I mean, they did some stuff that I'm like, that's too far.
Yeah. Well, anything too far, in my opinion, is just anything that's going to affect someone
Yeah,
else in a negative way.
as long as
Yeah.
both people are adults and are consenting and are like not in a position where they think they're consenting but have really been kind of led into that state of mind, I have no issue with it.
Yeah.
You do you, just don't hurt anyone else. It might be weird,
Yeah, but then you get
but
there
it's
is
okay.
such easy ways to be manipulative
True, true.
and narcissistic and take advantage of. I hate to say it, but maybe a weaker mind.
I
You
was
know.
talking to a friend today, and we got the discussion about different ages in relationships. And I genuinely am okay with, as long as there wasn't like any like pre, I've known her since she's 15. I've been talking her up and all this and this, and I'm a 35. That's it's okay. If you're 18, you have to be able to make your own decisions. But there is an element where it's more likely to happen, I think. And she was talking about this person who was in her 40s, and she was in a relationship with a person in his 20s, and that's not necessarily inherently wrong in my opinion. But the way she described this person, this older woman, was very both immature and innately manipulative. And what that sounded like to me, I can't say for sure because I don't know these people directly, but it sounded like someone who, instead of just being an older person who ended up in a relationship with a younger person, said, I have issues with relationship. Younger people are easier to manipulate. So I'm going to
Hmm.
target a younger person. But also, like, there are people out there who are different ages and they get along just fine.
Yeah.
Who am I to deny that?
I'm married to a woman 20 years younger.
Yeah. And I know that I can't go in a situation and say, because some people take advantage of this, I can't I can't go to an 18-year-old woman and tell her, hey, sometimes there are bad people who would take advantage of you, so you can't have the freedom to choose anymore. I mean, it's horrible that there's people who do it, but I mean, at some point we have to say, you're a person.
Yeah, you make your own decisions,
Yeah.
and this is the type
Because
of person you want to be with.
Yeah, and if I ended up with someone who was in their 30s and someone said, "Tristan, you can't do that. She's hurting." What if I want someone in my 30s? What if I'm like, "Damn, she
That's
knows what she's doing. She's got a
that's
better
the
grasp
person
on
you.
life than me, and I kind of need that right now."
Yeah,
That might be the situation I end up in. I can't deny someone that. That's their choice.
yeah. I
And
mean,
until they get in a position where not only is it a bad choice, but it's something they can't undo themselves, they're in a position where they're being manipulated to a point where they aren't unable to make their own decisions. I don't really have a right to step in. I might have a right to give advice to a degree, but I have to let a person live their own life.
but there are so many people that can be easily manipulated at any age or any age group.
Absolutely.
I mean, we know people right now that you could easily manipulate and
I
doing a
can be
lot of
easily
things.
manipulated too. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. I don't know. You can't. It's just when you start judging.
yeah,
What is it when you point a finger? You got three pointing back at you.
yeah.
You just gotta. Yeah. And when you say that a man can't date a woman younger than him, or a woman can't date a man younger than her, um, and you make that judgment on them, well, you're also making a judgment on the other
Person.
group person
Yeah, who might
that this might be something that
they're looking for.
yeah. So, anyways, I don't want to get on that soapbox because that becomes too
Very personal for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so what are some of the things that we've had those I don't know, maybe the older you get, the more sense I get put into you, and you kind of agree with me more.
Yeah. Maybe.
My biggest thing is that you doomsday it. It's like you come in and there's no hope, and I'm like, well, let's keep moving forward. And even though you as an individual are not maybe in a position where you can do a lot of things, but you can continually be building and moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'd say firstly, I am a writer. That's my goal in life. I'm technically a professional writer, getting there really, to really be a professional writer. But I am a student of Mieville and Hervitz, I think is how his last name is. They're my personal favorite authors. And both of them, while having hopeful themes, also are very much a lot of times the world's screwed. There is no fixing it. There is no solution anymore. So I might have a slightly skewed vision of the world. Maybe I don't. Maybe I am right. Maybe there is an element of this is beyond fixing. Maybe one day it'll be okay, but right now it is really bad, and
Yeah,
we have to accept it's really bad.
but that's been
Always the truth, yeah. But
always. There's always the end of the world.
yeah, I consider myself philosophically a optimistic nihilist, if that makes any sense. Because I don't necessarily believe in an inherent purpose to anything. I don't think this world is here for a greater reason.
Well,
So when I see something, and that's freeing to a degree, because I'm not here for a reason. I can do whatever the hell I want. I can do what makes me happy. I don't have to worry about this person who put me down to do this little task. But when I see something really horrible happen, I don't have that it happened for a greater reason to fall back on. I say, oh, that's just horrible. That is unnecessarily horrible. And there is no bright side to that sometimes. Sometimes someone got murdered and there is no light to that situation.
So, well, one thing is that there's always been the end of the world, and
Always, yeah.
every day it's the end of the world for someone.
Somebody, yeah.
Yeah. So we're more talking about the end of human race.
Or society, at least the society we have. Because I could see, maybe not, I don't know if this is going to collapse America, but I do think we're seeing the shadow of a dictatorship being cast.
Well,
Not quite there yet, but we are seeing a lot of concerning
well,
things.
maybe so, but at the same time, who's going to be this dictator? We got a dude that is in his 80s
He could
who's
be a
on his
really
second term.
funny dictator, but he might be a
He's
dictator.
just saying he's on his
Yeah.
second term. This isn't going to last forever.
Well,
This has happened
yeah.
before. The only thing about Trump that's different is that he's very unconventional. So his diplomacy is a little different.
He
Well,
has,
no, he doesn't. His diplomacy is completely different,
yeah.
and how he says things, how he does things. But really, it's nothing that much different than in before. I mean, we've had similar situations. We've went through three
We've been,
humongous
yeah, we've
wars,
been through, I mean, more than
four humongous
I mean,
wars.
count Revolutionary War,
Well,
2 world
yeah, if we
wars,
go civil
Civil
and all, I'm just
War,
talking about
Vietnam, Korean
worldwide.
War. Yeah, we've been through a lot of wars. But
There's always been this sense of, and when you go back to my generation, when we were hiding under our seats because of, we were afraid that Russia was going
yeah,
to
the
send a
Cold
nuclear
War.
weapon over. So
I guess the thing is
there's too many people, though.
yeah,
There's too many people to
but
allow that to happen.
it might not be the end of the world. It might be a very short-lived dictatorship. But personally, I have a limited lifespan. I'm not gonna more than likely I am not gonna live forever. I would hate to lose 5 years of my life to dictatorship,
I don't think you're
much
going to
less
do that.
20, much less 30.
You have too many people. There's too many people
A
that's
lot,
not,
a
and
lot of
you're
them are
seeing
pro that
highlights. You're
though.
seeing the highlights.
That's true.
You're not seeing the maintenance. You got about, let's just put 10% on the right and 10% on the left. I'm using the wrong hands for that. But so then you got 80% in the middle, and the
Yeah,
80% in the middle are out here doing work. We're working. We're trying to keep our lights on.
absolutely. Yeah,
We're trying to feed our family. We're trying to do what's right. We're trying to give charities. We're doing all the things. Whether you believe it or whether the right or the left believe it, that's really
the truth.
the backbone of
Yeah,
the
that
country.
is absolutely the backbone of the
And
country.
without that, you can't
We
be
collapse.
you can't be a dictator. There's no
But
way. It would not be allowed.
when our president, who is not a dictator currently, I hope, says, you know what? I don't think you. I think I don't trust the voting system. It's corrupt. Don't worry, guys. I got you. I've already picked another president, so your democracy is safe.
Not gonna happen.
What percent of America says, "Whoa, you're so great"? And I think it'd be more than you expect. I think there'd be a good percent of people who would say Trump can do no wrong.
Not gonna happen.
But a lot of and then what percent of the people say that sucks, but I can't do shit about it right now. I got to focus on making my money, feeding my family.
Mhm.
We, they're the backbone of society, but they're so restrained by being the backbone of society. Do they have time to step in and
They don't have to
stop?
step in. All they got to do is stop.
Yeah, but then when they stop, do
They
they
put a halt.
survive?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because those are the people that provide.
Absolutely.
The
Yeah.
backbone of society is what provides for the
Yeah.
rest. What is it they were talking about? New York. It produces nothing.
Yeah.
It produces everything has to be brought into New York.
Yeah, that's
Everything,
very
and
true.
then on the opposite, everything has to be taken out as far as
Waste
waste.
and yeah.
So without the backbone of society, that city itself is going to fall.
Yeah. But I mean, a lot
And
of
we
people in
don't
those cities,
need.
a lot of those people in those cities, though, they're not the dictator people. They're just innocent people trying to do some,
I understand,
I don't
but
want
I'm
those
just
people to
saying.
die
Well, they're
or to
not.
stop
We're not
this.
going to die, but if we slam the brakes on the
Yeah.
on the machine,
Yeah.
it's going to get the attention of a lot of
But
people.
also historically, there are a lot of big societies that have become like look at and I don't mean to be a whistleblower here, but look how similar Nazi Germany is
Easy.
to I mean if you look at the Nazis and compare them to the MAGA movement, and I don't mean to call anyone listening a Nazi for being I don't think anyone who is right now following Trump holds these beliefs, but how that movement formed and how Hitler took advantage of that movement
Yeah.
is worrying and strikingly similar to a lot what could happen. Like, because you could
I would
say it
not.
can't happen, but
Well,
dictatorships have
I'm not
happened
saying that
before.
it can't happen,
It's unlikely.
but based on the current situation we're in,
Yeah,
there's going to have to be some human, not one individual just coming up saying, "Hey, I'm going to choose the next president." That's not going to
but I
happen.
mean, look at
There
historically.
may be a long, drawn out process to get there, and
Yeah,
maybe that way. But even then, it's going to be very difficult because you're dealing with a completely different type of society.
I mean, yeah,
The Nazi Germany, the citizens and the
didn't have the information we
didn't have
have,
the information. They
but
didn't, but they also didn't have the freedoms.
yeah,
We're not going to back up on stuff. We're not going to allow someone to come in and do that.
you are kind of seeing like it's gonna be an interesting, it's gonna be a weird topic, but recently, there was a large video game in like online store, and they are completely banning not safe for work video games because of stuff to do with credit card companies. And I don't play like porn video games; that's not my thing. And a lot of people are gonna say, well, that's fine. I don't really care about porn video games. But the thing is when you ban porn, all you have to do to get something else banned is say, well, that's pornographic, and it's banned. I know in Project 2025, there was a page where they're talking about, I don't know if they're going to make you a sex offender, but if you produce porn, it's a crime. And on that exact same page, they're talking about how immoral and disgusting homosexuality is.
Yeah.
So if you want to get homosexuality banned, you ban porn and then say anything homosexual is porn. And that's been a
Yeah,
tactic since the dawn of time, is
I
to
know what you're
say
saying.
that's a degenerate. And so you're actively seeing the 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 pillars put into place for massive amounts of censorship. You're already seeing people taking steps to say, and the people who got caused this ban, they are a historical far right group who also supported a movie that was basically child pornography. Weirdly enough, that was a weird one.
What it
It's a movie called Cuties, and the original intent of the movie was to be anti-child pornography. Like, oh, look how corrupt
right?
the what's that the where they have girls dress up in dresses and all that.
And then all
But
the pedophiles watched it.
yeah, they're like, "Whoa, look at this," because
Great.
they did it too well. They basically showed the exploitation right there in front of you. It'd be like if
Yeah,
they released the Epstein files, which would be great if they did, but if they didn't censor anything, any of the
yeah.
images or anything like that of the children involved, that's what they did. And for some reason, this group is very pro banning video games that have explicit content, but they're also very pro this movie that has explicit content of children, which is very weird. That's a bit of a tangent.
I think that there just needs to be a little bit more. Um, I don't know. I think people are, for one thing, the unity. I know I harp on that a lot, but also the ability to receive information and be able to look at it from your own perspective and
Without
say, make a judgment on it. There,
the
of
lens of your
course,
group.
this pornography thing. There's a bunch of negative things that are, being brought to people's attention. Even podcasters. Look at Theo Vaughn. He advocates this group that tries to help people that are addicted to pornography and things like that.
Absolutely. I
And
agree.
definitely there's not a place for it. So here's one that kind of makes you think about that. So, and this is probably some of this that I'm going to get a little bit off, but there's certain books that were being banned from schools
Yeah.
where, they were trying to maybe educate people on transsexuals or
Well,
possibly,
and they went a little overboard with how they were, did it for
or
targeting at children.
homosexuals, and
And
they got really graphic, and it was not needed.
I'd have to see those books personally, but I can't imagine that happening.
Yeah,
But also, I've seen people like argue that pornography as a whole has no place in our society.
yeah.
Which I mean, I can understand where they're coming from, but I think it's the same thing as guns. Guns,
Well, here's a good spot for me to interject and maybe
okay,
do a little plug. So I've been to a strip club,
yeah,
and it was the most
it does not
miserable
seem like a fun
place.
experience.
You just got miserable dudes, and you
I've been
got more miserable women up there.
been
I've never,
invited to,
and maybe
yeah,
that's maybe just an isolated incident, but from my perspective, and I'm not down on anybody. Hey,
yeah,
I am not one to judge.
absolutely.
I'm not going to judge because you got
The world's a weird place. I don't know what's going on
there's
with
this one
you.
time in Tijuana.
Yeah. What
I will
happens in
go.
Tijuana stays with you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I can't look at a person and be like, well, unless they're actually beating a child or something, I can't say it.
yeah.
Or they're spewing hate speech or they're doing something like that. I'm gonna have a
There's
hard
certain
time.
ways to judge.
Yeah.
But recently, and not this isn't even intentional. Me and my wife went with some friends to St. Louis, and we went to. They had took us to dinner. It's this place called the Boom Boom Room, and I didn't really know. I had no idea. And then we go in, and then kind of a staging set up where you wait, and then your meal's being prepared, and you go to get seated, and it was a burlesque show.
Yeah.
Everybody there had a great time. It was so much fun. No necessarily, right on nudity. They did their dances, and it was just fun. There's nothing really what
It
I would consider a
aesthetically risque. It wasn't. It was
yeah.
never. It
But
was never directly like.
but it was fun,
Yeah. It was.
and the people, everybody there had a great time. I don't think anybody had like, you know, any kind of sexual ideas in their mind.
Yeah. It was.
It was just there to have fun, and we actually are hoping, and we made we had reached out, and they're actually going to be on our podcast. So
That'll
we're
be
supposed to
yeah.
be going up
Forward
there
to that
soon.
one.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. Those are some really fun folks, and if you get a chance, I'm not being paid to say this. Go there. I have had some very stressful months, if not years, and to get away and just have someone take your mind off of it, and
Yeah.
it was very nice. So just putting that in there for the Boom Boom Room in St. Louis, and hopefully we get to do that podcast soon.
But
But we were talking, going back to the pornography though. I don't know really. There's no right answer for anything.
yeah. Well, I look at like I look at guns. Sure, some people are going to abuse it, and that's a situation we need to be careful of, and we need to have public like awareness of. But what if husband and wife are for long distance? They're like, oh, look at this, I like this. She's like, oh, that's one situation. Or what if there's a guy out there and he's got some disability, he's physically, and he's not gonna whatever for whatever reason, romance is out of the question for him. He's physically, they're
Most
not gonna.
yeah,
That's not gonna happen.
the
Should we
odds are
deny
very.
him? I mean, at least let him have that. At least let him have that situation, so he has something, or she has something too. Because it's gonna happen. Like if it's out of the question for them for
I
whatever reason,
I will be the opposing side on this one really quick, and I'm not necessarily saying this is how I feel, but
playing devil's
I know
advocate.
how people are going to hear what you're saying, and they're going to be like, "Well, just because this one person has this problem, should we be exploiting these other people?"
Exploitation is the most important. Now, I've heard stories of like Pornhub that's done horrible things. Even Pornhub, which is one of the most legitimate ones. So what's happening
Yeah,
where we're not looking? I mean, that's disgusting to me. And this is coming
and
from someone
and
who is
maybe putting some. You know how they. I think that the tobacco companies had to put in some
absolutely,
money into like rehabilitating or helping people who got
yeah,
sick. Um, and you know maybe that's something we need to maybe look at putting into situations where people don't feel like they're so desperate that that's the only
yeah.
option they have.
And I remember I'll be scrolling through YouTube, right? And I'll get this ad for some AI girlfriend situation, which is really unappealing to me. But it is overtly sexual. Like I'll get like ads for essentially pornography on YouTube. And that is I remember reading a Red Rising, which you've read as well. And there's a scene where the character he grew up in a very sheltered life. And he ends up in this, sci-fi city on Mars and it's crazy. And they're having nudity overtly in his advertisements. And while I am someone who's very opposed to censorship, I think there has to be an awareness of where we're putting these things. There has to be awareness of you don't need to have boobies on every billboard, whatever,
Mm,
because
yeah,
it is now of course you go to some other countries and they'll have women be shirtless and that's seen as normal. Same thing with men being shirtless here. You walk down the street and you see a dude not wearing a shirt, you're not going to be like, oh, you're gonna be,
yeah. I
that's
don't know. It depends on how cute he is.
yes, yeah,
Right.
but
Um.
it is you have to it's striking that balance of allowing someone the freedom of, it's their life. I don't feel comfortable saying you can't do this with your life. But
Yeah.
also it's making sure that person is not in a position where that takes advantage of them.
I think the issue is it just really does go back to there's just so many people.
There is so many people,
It's
and
hard.
that's
It's hard
so hard
to.
to work with.
Yeah.
I don't want to get on the politics of immigration, but there's a lady talking about immigrants in America, and she's like, how many immigrants do you think are in America? She goes, two 2000 or two what I can't even think of the word.
Two
Two
hundred thousand.
200,000, yeah. No, 200 million is what she said. 200 million
200
immigrants.
million.
That's what she believed. 200 million immigrants. And they're like, "Well, how many people do you think live in America?" She goes, "Several billion."
Yeah.
So there, I looked it up just because I was curious. There's like 300 million people in America.
Yeah.
So if she was correct, it would be their country at this point. We've already,
Yeah.
all the fears of them taking over, they did it. We can't really do much.
Here's my belief on immigration and as a whole, and especially like foreign aid, things
Yeah.
like that. Um, First of all, I want to say that even on an airplane, if there's going to be an accident, they tell you to put the
Take care of
mask on
yourself.
yourself
Yeah.
before you help others. I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that if we don't have the resources to help others, or if we don't have the resources to even help ourselves yet, we shouldn't be reaching out to help
Well, yeah.
others. I've also told people, and I'm not the best financial advisor here, but this is a financial tidbit that if you get money and you put it in your pocket and you have bills, that money's not yours.
Yeah. It
Those
belongs.
go to Bill.
Yeah.
So if someone asks you if they can borrow money, you can legitimately say, I don't have it.
Exactly.
Because you're only holding on to Bill's money.
Yeah.
And if you've ever had any kind of interaction with any kind of criminal organizations, when you're holding on to their money,
Yeah, it's
it's
their
their
money.
money.
Yeah. Well, it's like if
So,
I have friends, I can help those friends, right? And I should help my friends. That's what friends do.
yeah,
But if I'm in a situation where if I don't pay my rent, I'm gonna get kicked out, I become significantly less helpful with my friends.
you could even become
I
a burden
yeah,
yourself.
you have to take care of yourself first, not necessarily for a selfish I'm better than everyone else reason, but you have to maintain your ability to help other people then. If
Well,
you
and
don't
I
do
think
that, you can't help other people.
okay, so then we go to the opposite side of that. And if my neighbor has hurts himself, I'm going to go over there and help. I'm going to
Yeah.
go. If someone in the neighboring town, well, I might send some money to help out. If somebody in the neighboring state, well, if it gets to me, maybe we can do a telethon or whatever.
Yeah.
Where does your backyard end?
It's
If one of my children fall and hurt themselves in the
you
backyard,
care about
I
them
am
kids.
going to do
Absolutely.
everything possible. So where do we stop believing that people are people? Is it just the ocean? Is it really,
It's
or is it that wall down south? These are still
well,
people. They're the same as
yeah.
us. They talk differently. They have different cultures. They have good ones. They have bad ones.
Now, yeah, again
We
on the whole immigration thing, that is the situation of how do we allow immigration is more complicated than I think we have time to get into. Whether or not we even need, the whether because you look at other countries, they have open borders. Would that work in America? How does that, et cetera, et cetera. But one thing I find really notable is the cruelty in a lot of how people treat the immigrants, whether they have to be deported or not. People dressing up as ICE to go harass people at Lowe's for a laugh. And then you look at this new prison we've built, this new holding facility. They're selling merch based on it.
Yeah.
And that's in such poor taste to me because sure, there's going to be some immigrants out here who are psycho serial killer, fentanyl dealer, or whatever, who need to be. But a lot of it is some girl was brought to America because when she was 5 years old, and she's not a citizen. She's an illegal immigrant, and she never could get her citizenship because she's scared if she tries to get her citizenship, she'll call out her parents who are here illegally, and she'll get them in trouble. And then now she's 18, and she's only ever known America, but she's technically not a citizen. And then she's arrested and thrown in a cell with 30 other people with not enough food, not enough water, being told she's a horrible human being, and someone's selling merch about that so they can wear
Well,
it with their friends and laugh.
I want to roll that back a little bit. Sometimes we can get a
Yeah,
little
we get a little
emotional about things
passionate.
like that, and sometimes we can be headlined.
Yeah,
As these are the headlines that we're seeing.
that's
And I'm going to
true.
tell you that there are a, a majority of really good people out there.
Yeah,
Majority of people don't want anyone to suffer. However, there's also a need for some type of law.
absolutely.
Um, and yeah, we get into some really sticky situations there because we've let certain laws lax or we don't apply them.
Yeah,
And people are like, it's like if you're gonna say it's okay for me to go 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, then I'm
I'm gonna
always
go.
gonna
I'm gonna
do
go
it. And
take
if you change it all of a sudden, how fair is that?
exactly. Yeah,
So
I think
I don't think I think the key to this situation is attrition.
yeah.
The only way we're going to fix this correctly, or the best, there is no correct. There is no correct
There is
way.
no
First of all,
correct
I'll have
when
to say that there's
it's
no right, perfect way. But the only way that we're going to fix things like this is through attrition, and that is steady pressure. We're not going to go in and try to wipe the slate clean right away
yeah,
because there's too many variables. We're going to go in and start putting pressure in certain situations so that we can start to push this thing back a little bit
yeah,
and then get our feet underneath us. It's like when you're in the ring and you've been overwhelmed by your opponent. You're either waiting for the bell so you can sit down and regroup, or you're going to cover up and try to bounce yourself around so that you can then
Yeah,
You know, if we go after this thing, any of these really tough situations that don't have right answers, none of them do.
that's true.
Nobody can tell me that any of these top subjects, whether it's immigration, whether it's abortion, whether it's, you know, and now when I even like on the abortion, I will get some backfeed from that because pro life, and I'm probably have to say that I lean that away. But even then, I mean, yeah, a living being is priority, and but at the same time, the variables that go into play here
You get to
make it that okay, maybe that is the right answer, but is it the perfect right answer? There is
exactly.
no perfect right answer
Well,
in any of these things that
I
we're
think
talking
I
about.
think with the case of immigration is we don't know the right answer. It's a very complicated situation.
There's no perfect right answer.
But the thing is not only are they approaching it with what they believe is the right answer, which is one thing already, they're approaching it with innate cruelty. Not even like their answer is cruel. They're approaching it and they're mocking the people they're hurting.
Mm.
They're making merch about that girl who is stuck in that situation.
Yeah,
They're making they make an AI generated memes about specific. Now there was this lady and she was a fentanyl dealer. And I'm glad she was arrested and deported. That was a good on our government. That's one person we do not want on the streets, whether she's an American citizen or. But the thing is they made this little AI gym. The White House. Hey, I can't remember what it was Facebook. I think it was X. They made this little AI generated image of them arresting her, and she's crying, and she looks like a lunch lady, and all the people look like I felt bad. They're so cruel. They made me feel bad for the fentanyl dealer they caught off the street.
yeah,
That's and then we're talking about the whole birthright citizenship thing where they're trying to remove that. That's just gonna. There's a situation with a lot of people called stateless citizens because essentially I've not perfectly informed here, but some countries they do not recognize citizens of children of their citizens born outside the country. I'm pretty sure India is one of these situations. So let's say let's remove birthright citizenship. Person from India comes over for whatever reason has a kid, and you can be like, yeah, sure, they shouldn't have done that. They're in the wrong, but the kid didn't have jack shit
yeah,
to say about it. That child is not recognized in any country. That child is now much more likely to fall into sex trafficking as well.
yeah.
That's what
Well,
concerns me heavily with the birthright citizenship issue is that and we already have like several I'd have to look up the numbers exactly, but there's several thousand stateless citizens in America. And you can be jailed for 6 years in America.
yeah,
Not necessarily but put in a holding facility because they don't know what to do with you. They can't just send you somewhere else, but you can't be here. So we're just going to throw you in a box and say good enough for now.
definitely. We have some hard questions that don't have perfect answers.
But approaching with
We have to,
empathy
yeah,
is
always humanity.
don't make me feel bad for the fentanyl dealers. That you messed
Yeah.
up already. If you did that, you pulled
Well,
that
I
off.
mean, it's just we got to quit. We have to quit as a nation and as a world, um, inciting the opposing forces.
Yeah.
Um,
We're taunting each other.
we can't do this, and one group of people can't do it. We need everybody,
Yeah,
as many people on board as we can. And by taunting a group, you're not going to be able to pull them on board.
exactly.
So you're going to have to. We got to find a way. We have to have some diplomacy somehow.
That's true. I do fear the current
We
administration
need some good
is.
salespeople.
We need some good salespeople. I do fear the current administration is not someone who I will ever be able to openly work, not openly, just in general
Mm.
work with, because I don't know if they're going to ever be
But
able to.
here's the problem
The
with
current
that.
administration, not necessarily Republicans as a whole, but the people who are currently there, I don't know if they can ever step down and say, "Hey,
Yeah,
I respect you as a human being."
but you have to. You can't. So you can't say that. You can't say that because we're not going to make any progress. Like
Yeah,
I can't work with these people.
I'm not
Well,
saying I can't
okay.
because
Well,
of
let's find a way to work with
well,
these
if
people.
Donald Trump came down to me and said, "Tristan,
Hey,
I got
Tristan, I heard your podcast the other day. You
yeah,
made some really good
you made
points. I
some really good
think.
point." Yeah,
Can I?
then I'll
Can we
say,
talk
"Okay,
more about that?
yeah." I just don't envision that group ever coming down and saying these people are worth my respect.
Well,
If they do, I will change my tune immediately.
that
But
group you're talking about are people,
yeah, they are people,
and
but they are.
most of them are
But I can't.
well intentioned, and even maybe you also have to step back and say, I might personally be misled. Maybe I don't know
Maybe,
the whole story. Maybe I
maybe
haven't seen everything here, and maybe there's more to this. Maybe not it's all. It
that's
may not be all
true.
perfect,
But
but maybe I'm missing some of the
this administration is very
points.
open with what they're doing, though.
Because I'll tell you right
Yeah,
now, I listen. I'm not a Gavin Newsom fan at all.
yeah.
I look at California. I'm like, holy shit, what happened there? But listening to him today, I got a little more, and maybe that's me being manipulated.
Or maybe it's recency
Maybe,
bias as
but
well.
I'm seeing a guy who's doing what he thinks is right.
Absolutely.
And when you're in a leadership position, if you're out there and you're charging the bunker and you're the general, you can't be questioned, and you can't question yourself during that situation. You
That's
have to make a
true.
choice,
I
and then
agree.
you got to come back. But you also got to understand that making that choice, when all this is said and done, you're going to
Absolutely.
have to answer to it.
Yeah, but
But it's hard.
when you're making like
I'm telling you right now, Tristan, though, if you look at like what that group is doing, it's just same situation, just reversed. You're
well,
looking at
I don't think, and now I'm not a great Biden supporter. I think he was far too old to be president. But I don't think now. Once again,
Biden.
they did
In
some
my
evil
opinion, he
things.
really wasn't president at the end.
Probably not. But I don't think they were actively antagonizing the rights. Nor do I believe Obama, and I
Mm,
don't believe I believe he did some bad things, but I don't believe he was actively antagonizing the
Here's
rights.
the
And
difference:
that's
is you have people that have diplomacy. Obama is one of the
was a
prime
great
examples.
diplomat.
He's a great speaker.
Yeah, he knew what he said.
I can take someone who may not be on the same. I'm not saying I'm trying to say I'm a super intellect here,
Yeah,
but there are people that are less intellectually advanced as me, and I can insult them
without them knowing it.
without them even. They'll even thank me. They'll
Yeah,
even thank me for it. Like, no, I meant you're an idiot.
yeah.
Um, and you see that. Yeah, you'll see that more. It's
But
more of the slide remarks.
look at with our current president. And I think it's one thing
Yeah,
with
but look at what
well, yeah, but there's one thing with the president, and he is saying things like every holiday he has to make sure to call out the insane woke left,
I
and
agree
I think the
with that. I
majority
will
of
agree with that. I
like
mean, you can't get people on your side by just insulting them all
yeah,
the time.
and that's one thing. The president doing that, that's one thing. I think it's pretty bad the president's doing it, but the White House is actively attacking half of our
Well,
like they will make Facebook posts talking about how evil the left is and
yeah,
things
but
like that.
who?
The official White House,
I know,
not
but
necessarily,
at the
but
same time,
yeah,
I mean,
who's
is it
yeah,
everybody in that
I
administration? No.
agree. But when you have
And I would say even the majority of them are going, even the majority of them,
yes, I agree there.
Biden as well. There was many moments that Biden would say something, or Kamala might say something off the cuff, and I can imagine how many people are in the
You're
back
like,
going,
oh yeah,
"Oh my God, why
absolutely.
did they?"
But
Same
it's
thing. It's the same
the
thing.
professionalism of it though. It's because
Yeah,
that's the difference. There, what Trump's saying, it's one thing,
that's
but
how they made their move.
the
Is
face of the government using like talking about how bad the woke is and all that.
I agree that
That's what worries me with the White House, like the official White House X
I'll agree with
saying
you
things
on
like
that
that.
on the basis of I don't not even for the fact that I'm trying to be a advocate for the woke. I'm not. I'm just doing it for the fact of you're not going to get them on your side by calling
Yeah.
them,
I don't think the White House should go out there and talk about oh yeah, take that the radical right, you guys lose again. Ha ha. It's not even as not just as insulting.
There
I look
has
at
to
it as
be a stop to the aha.
it's
Told you
childish.
so.
Like I look at my own government, like we have a bunch of toddlers on there trying to show how much cooler they are than me. And that I don't
I
trust that. That's
I heard
worrying.
someone say, and I 100% agree with this. I lost my train of thought slightly there. So he was saying, I never want to say, I told you,
Told you so.
I never want to have that
Yeah,
opportunity. If I'm telling you that you're going to do something and something horrible is going to happen,
yeah,
then I hope that I'm wrong,
yeah,
even when I know I'm right. That's where we got to take a step back and look.
yeah.
It's going to take. We got to come to some. And we talked to Drew about that. We've talked about every podcast guest we've had to some degree that we got to unify,
Absolutely.
not just you know
I just
everyone's watching. I'm
yeah,
telling you guys, all the nations of the world pay
yeah,
attention to us. We're the sitcom. We're
yeah.
the
And I
we're
will
the
say, I think
Jerry Springer show to them, and they're seeing the weakness. And the weakness isn't because of individual weakness; it's because of division.
I'd say
Country divided is not
I
not as
think
strong.
since 2016, we have been continuously making fools of ourselves on the grand stage. We have been making ourselves look absurd because I mean we've had Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and those. those are like cartoon characters.
Well, then you throw in all the others too. Then.
Yeah, but like those two are like I see memes on my YouTube. It's like, oh yeah, AI generated voice of Joe Biden and Donald Trump playing Minecraft. It's very funny because those are very goofy people. And then if you make them play Minecraft and together, that's two very goofy people playing Minecraft together. They were leaders of America for 4 years. One of them going to be for 8 years now.
Right.
Like I love a lot of the YouTubers I watch. They're very funny people. I don't think I want them running the country. That's
Yeah.
what I feel like's happening right now.
Yeah, we got a couple influencers up there.
Yeah, I mean, really, I want someone who
So
I trust to be empathetic enough to not target people.
that's why, and then, I'm willing to debate it at some degree if I had more time to deep dive. But that's kind of why I like people like Vance. Now, I will say that sometimes he does too want to throw out some things that are more inciting
Yeah,
people than it is exciting them.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, also,
You're seeing a rollback on a lot of stuff, though. I think you're starting to see
I mean,
a lot of
the most
people.
controversial, of course, being the Epstein files, with this entire administration approaching this election being, we're going to release the Epstein files, and then with a president actively telling you if you care about the Epstein files, you're a bad person.
Yeah. So here's the deal.
And then a lot of them are being
There's
quiet about it
so
too.
much going on out there besides that.
Absolutely, but
And I think it's an important thing. Will we get to the bottom of it? Well, who was Epstein's girlfriend that did all the
I can't remember her name, but they're talking
yeah.
about pardoning her now.
So she was basically the one in charge of going and getting these people,
Yeah,
these young girls or even possibly young men to be involved with this thing. So who is she getting those for? That's where you got to question. Okay, so we're gonna throw her ass in jail, which I heard is a pretty cushy jail.
probably. She's got money.
Yeah,
They'll never face real consequences.
but we're gonna throw her in prison. Yet, who did she do all this for?
Oh yeah,
There's obviously people she did this for. It wasn't just
and on
Epstein.
both sides of the.
Mhm.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was some Democratic a politician I respect a great deal, and if that happens, I am not going to say, oh well, it's okay because they're. I'm going to say no, that person needs to pay
And
consequences.
now, not to take what he did lightly at all, because it's horrible
It's
what he
disgusting.
did to people. But is this being used to disguise what else is going on?
I have seen an argument that Trump is handling it so poorly that it is, but
I mean, on both
if
sides.
yeah,
I see that there may be something bigger going
yeah,
on. There's
but
always something bigger going.
if
As we speak,
yeah,
there's some life changing, life saving, life
yeah.
taking
But
things happening.
if this is a distraction, if Donald Trump is purposely floundering on something that makes him look this horrible, 'cause I don't know if there's any single thing Trump could do that would make him look worse in the public eye. How vile is the thing he is truly hiding? If this
Yeah,
is
but
the
maybe
smoke
there's
screen,
you got to know what the end game is. Is it that is it that these people are wanting to be considered heroes? Is it that these people, are they taking the fall? Are they if you know my take on Judas, are they being a Judas? Are they, you know, there's been many a times people have taken the fall. They'll be like,
yeah.
you stand up and say you did this and you'll go to jail for 3
But
years and we'll give you $4 million.
yeah, I can't imagine.
I don't know what's
Are
going
so are you
on.
suggesting that there's someone higher up in this situation they're trying to bring down?
I've always, now here's my conspiracy theory. I have always believed, 100% believed that there is a small group worldwide that really calls the
See,
shots.
I have to disagree. I'm gonna quote one of my favorite YouTubers, something Minuteman. I can't remember the exact, but he says you don't have to hate the fake government. You can hate the real government. I
Yeah.
have to agree with him there. I
I'm
feel
not
like
saying I hate that government. I'm
I
just saying I believe there are some
hate a
shot
lot of
callers.
it.
There's shot caller. I'm talking about whatever this, the shot callers. There's some elite individuals that are above what we see. They're not
They
we see the faces.
we see
We see the smiling waves.
yeah.
There's somebody else up there, and I don't know what type of power that is. I don't know I don't think it is economic. I don't think it's a different kind of power.
I
I don't
have a
know.
personally someone who's I'm not as studied in history as some people, but as someone who's studied history, I have a hard time imagining a one world shadow government of any kind.
Mhm.
I could see some degree of alliance where all the major world powers are like, yeah, we all kind of get along. I could even go as far as to see I could see some governments doing fake
I don't know.
wars to cover up, intentional wars.
But
But I have a
how
hard
often
time,
do you see something that is imminent completely change?
such
So,
as
hmm?
such as
Such as the Epstein files.
good example. I think a lot of it.
Everybody's like, the Epstein files, the Epstein files. Wait till we release the Epstein. When are you going to release the Epstein?
Well, it's a
I want to see. I want to see who's on the list. Who's on the list? And then
well, I'd say a lot of
there's no
the
list.
biggest reason is
And I mean, that's
there's
not just that
not
situation.
this
I mean, we've seen
example.
things like this in Ukraine. Ukraine should have been over in a day, kind of things like that. There's just too many things out there that just seem to be
Well,
have some kind of
we talk about a lot about
higher up.
people talking before they think, right? They're speaking before they're thinking. I think two things with this is Trump is he talks before he thinks a lot of times. He says what
There's a
feels good.
people say just the opposite. They say he's very methodical. Like even when he was using the F word, he never uses that word. He never uses it until just
I mean,
recently, and he did it methodically.
you can be both of those things. You can have the ability to think ahead several moves and say this, but you can also have this grand plan and something pops up and you just instinctively say something.
Yeah,
Also, specifically the MAGA
I would be
party.
careful ever underestimating Trump's intellect.
Yeah, I think he's a very
You're not going to pull off things that he's
yeah,
done.
absolutely. I think he is in some regards. I don't mean to, I must clarify. I do not like the man, but I think in some regards he's very intelligent. I also think in some regards he's very stupid.
Well, I don't.
He's extreme in some degrees and lacking in
I think
others.
his intellect is beyond a lot of what we believe.
Well, I mean,
I think though that his emotions may
if you
sometimes
break it down, it's like
he
D and
gets.
D D&D stats. You don't just have mind and strength. You have in your mind you have intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. I think he's pretty good in intelligence, very high in charisma, low in wisdom. That's how
I
I'll point
disagree.
it.
I think he's very high in wisdom, and I think that because I see myself do things similar to that. I will come up with a perfect plan.
Yeah,
Like, and I got it all together, and I spend a lot of time on it, and I get it all laid out, and then I call the people in.
and it doesn't go at all.
Well, I got to call them in. I'm like, hey guys, I got it figured out, and then they start questioning it, and I
Yeah,
just take it offensively. I'm
yeah.
like, no, this is what we need to do.
When really they're just
You
trying
guys
to
don't know
feel
what
it
the hell
out.
you're
Yeah,
talking about, and even points of where they're saying, and I'm like, yeah, that's valid, but I still take offense to it, and I
yeah,
still have that kickback because this is something that I've done, this is something I worked
absolutely.
on, and I take it personally.
Yeah,
I think that's what you're seeing
but then
there,
you also
and it can override your intellect
but
sometimes.
then if you look back at the MAGA party, and the MAGA party does, like I said, I know people who consider themselves MAGA. I don't think they're bad people. I think a lot of them just
No.
genuinely believe. But it does worry me how
I hate that you say that you group that group. It's the same as like what we talked about in the beginning. You're saying the MAGA party is this, or and I know you're coming back in and saying I don't. I would rather think of it more like that. The some of the ideas that these people have
some
may
of these
not,
ideas. Well, I think
and then
the core beliefs of the MAGA belief set, I disagree with strongly. I don't think every person with MAGA even aligns with that. But I think a lot of it is Trump is has a very powerful personality. And one thing he plays a lot with, and the MAGA group as a whole plays with, especially the politician side of MAGA plays with, is moral righteousness. There have been these people doing these bad things for a long time, and we're going to hurt them. That's a very powerful human belief that we need to get these people back. And Trump and his side of people are very good at putting that on the left, right? They're very good at saying, look how evil the woke crowd is. We're going to make them hurt. We're going to hurt them, and it's going to feel so good when we hurt them. It's a very powerful message. So they play with that. They say, we're going to get all the left, because every liberal ever, everyone who's voted Democrats on the Epstein list, we're going to reveal it. It's going to be awesome. And everyone's like, yeah, well, then when the Epstein list it comes around to actually having to pull through, Trump the whole time knew that all of his buddies are on the Epstein list, or at least he knew that someone's on. So he's like, well, I can't actually do it. I can promise this, but I can never
I
follow
think you're
through.
making an accusation
I
there.
might be, yeah. I'm
Well,
not
you're
saying
making an accusation because you don't know who's on that
I
list,
don't know who's
and
on
you
that
don't know
list.
what that Trump was
I mean,
thinking.
theoretically speaking, the list could be blank, maybe, but I don't believe that.
Yeah,
And that's my guess.
well,
You're right. I'm making an
I just want
yeah.
you to, when you're making statements, you need to be
Yeah,
careful that
I
you
don't.
need aware that
Yeah,
this
I
is
don't have
my
insider
opinion that this
knowledge.
could be what's happening.
I don't have insider knowledge on the Epstein files, and I really do not. It would be a bad sign if I did.
Yeah,
But
nobody wants to.
that's what I believe is the case. I believe he knew full heartedly that he would never release it. He just knew to stir up drama.
Yeah,
Because historically speaking, looking at how Trump approaches things, he's very good at demonizing one side and saying we're gonna hurt them and it's gonna feel so good because they've deserved it for so long.
yeah.
That's his main play.
Where I think he needs to be saying, you know,
He needs to be saying, "Hey, man,
how can we convince these people that what we're
yeah."
doing is right? And
And I actually, I mean, I do see the appeal to a degree because, like, I want to find out who's on the Epstein list. I want them to serve prison time. I want them to not necessarily. I mean, there's part of me that says these people did horrible things. I would be satisfying to see them suffer the consequences. But also, I understand it on the degree of these people, if they're still out there, what are they still doing?
Let's take a look at that real quick. Just so if you were on the island, I wasn't.
Yeah,
Fortunately, I'm too poor.
it saves. Yeah, can't be evil. We're
Could not
broke.
be invited.
Yeah,
I was not on the. I was not on the invite. However, you go there, and then all of a sudden, you're like, "Wow, this is a lot of craziness. There's a bunch of beautiful people. Everybody's having a great
yeah.
time."
You're
And
not even.
and then you're starting to go, "Wait a minute,
Looks a little young.
what's going on here?" And then before you know it, you realize you stepped into
Something
something,
you shouldn't
and the
have.
next thing you know, here's an Epstein file.
Yes.
And
So
you got your now you got your so we gotta, I think,
yeah,
maybe consider some of that too. We
you
can't
you
just
you can't.
demonize
Yeah,
everybody
you
that was
can't just.
there.
Everyone who's on the list isn't necessarily a pedophile.
Definitely,
However,
definitely not
However, if
not
you
good
were
for your.
on the list, you should. We can't just say, it's
He's a
probably
nice guy.
nothing.
He's a nice
Probably
guy.
nothing. Well, if you're on the list,
Yeah,
you need
there's
to be aware of
some
it.
suspicion.
And there is, I do probably believe in it. The Black Book, the list of people who Epstein has hardcore blackmail on, and probably has,
Yeah,
that's something that, because I mean, what if the leader of the free world has done this heinous stuff? What if we find that out? What if we find out that not only this leader, but the leaders going
yeah.
decades back have been doing these kind of things?
Well, he's not even a leader or something. We know.
He's the most powerful individual, maybe not the most
Yeah,
powerful faction, because you have to look at the president as
I mean, but we can rewind. We
he's
can
one
go
of three
back. How
branches.
many presidents were accused of?
Horrible stuff,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean we
It's a
can
certain
allow
level
it.
of power that you get to that level.
That's one thing that, yeah, that
You know,
excuse me, concerns me about power is once you have that much power.
yeah,
I mean, not everyone. There's going to be some people out there who say, you know what? I have all the power in the world. Life's boring. Still not going to fuck a child. That's messed up. I'm not that guy.
yeah.
But a lot of people,
Well,
yeah,
it's just I don't know what For me, boring sounds pretty good.
yeah. I would love. I mean, I ain't gonna lie.
When all my bills are paid and
If I
everybody's
could
happy.
live in my $1 million mansion and not do heinous shit, I'd be super
You
happy.
say we say that, but I mean, you get put in position. I'm not saying that I
Don't
would do that, but I'm
don't
just
say that.
saying
No.
that what is it? People say money's not important when when they don't have but when you don't have it,
Yeah.
that's all you can think
No, no.
about.
Money is exceptionally important.
Yeah,
As someone who doesn't have money, I I mean, if I got $1 billion, I like to think I'd be a good person. I would donate a good amount of it because I don't personally believe in billionaires. But if someone gave me a $5 million, it would drastically change my life for the better.
yeah,
There would not be a single thing that $5 million does for me that's not, besides maybe like the fact that I can't trust people as much because there could be just
yeah.
less so that they're going to take my money, more so that they don't actually care about me. But like,
Hmm.
yeah, money drastically benefits you. It's not a
Well, it's just your peace of mind.
peace of mind is yeah, peace of mind and the ability to live life, the ability to I want to publish a book one day. If I had $5 million, not only could I just spend every day writing, I guarantee you it'd help me get a great editor, a great publisher. All these things that would bring me deep satisfaction in life would be significantly easier with $5
Yeah.
million.
All right. Well, I don't know how long we've gone. It
I don't
seems.
know, it feels like a long time, but
Yeah.
also feels like 5 minutes.
So, as far as your generation
What time is
being,
it?
hmm?
You can take what time it is, Cam.
6 o'clock.
That's not that long, actually.
Yeah.
Only about 2 hours, the less than that, because we had the setup.
Back and forth. But so on the wrap up end of this, your generation does take a lot of flack, and I think that I tend to stand up for them more
More
than
than
a
most, I
lot.
do agree.
Um, I think the situation that they're in is completely different, and it's really hard to judge. Um,
Absolutely. I remember seeing some.
it's like people always say, you can put down your phone, go outside, and get some fresh air.
It's too hot.
Well, think about. Well, I'm
Global
just thinking
warming.
about 100 years from now when there's a colony of people that are on a ship somewhere.
Space and
Yeah, then
go outside.
yeah. So the situation changes, and just because this is how your life was for so long, um, changes a lot of the that you
Yeah.
can't really speak for someone whose life pretty much is demanded to have a phone.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
you got to have a so
If I didn't have my phone for one day, I guarantee you, not in like a cringe. Oh, I'd go crazy. my job, I would have issues with my job. I could get an email I desperately need to reply to immediately.
Yeah.
So many things could go so wrong that could have significant consequences that I would not be able to manage.
Well, again, it just goes back. This has happened generation to generation. I think this generation's took a little harder hit than some because of what COVID did. And like you said, it's really hard for your generation. They don't even know how to defend themselves.
I think you'd be surprised when you talk
From
to.
what I've seen, it's not. From
Well,
what I've seen is you see people get up during, and question, conservatives about stuff. And then they don't really, I think what it is they're not doing enough research. They're not
Yeah.
diving deep enough. And then they get looked at as imbecilic or just unintelligent or definitely uninformed.
Yeah.
They also have this fantasy idea of, okay, saying something like housing.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to, they're saying it's, what is it?
Housing crisis.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that everyone deserves that.
Right to
A human
right.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not against that.
Yeah.
But you
If we
gotta
can
tell-
manage it,
you
absolutely.
gotta tell me how.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to go to school and get free school. Okay, that sounds great. But
Yeah.
tell me how. And tell me a way that it's fair.
Yeah.
Tell me a way that it's fair
Well,
for a dude out here digging a freaking hole, sweating his ass off,
yeah.
working 50, 60, 70 hours a week. That's his life every day. And he pays his taxes so that someone else can go to school, get a better job, live a better life
Yeah.
for free.
Now, by this argument, though, could he not have gone to school and got a better job? Or are we saying this was a person who was born too late, or too early for this situation?
Yeah.
Because if we do, I agree that's horrid.
Yeah.
And we should have
where's the
situations to
fairness in
benefit.
that?
But the problem is, if we make that argument, that goes on forever.
Or-
Whereas eventually, if we do
or
this now,
If this is just the life that he wants to live, he doesn't want to live
yeah,
a life. Now, but at the
Now-
same, no one gave him the any
But
kind
now-
of
we make
benefit.
we make this argument that he has free housing, which is something it's going to be hard to achieve, but we do make that. Now he has free housing, right? He doesn't have to pay rent. Let's say he also somehow gets food as a human right, so he doesn't have to pay for groceries. He's working this really hard life, but he's getting these benefits that are going to make it easier for him.
Well,
He's benefiting from it now.
But
as
what's the
well.
point of working that real hard life then?
I mean, you mentioned this is what he wanted.
I'm just
this
saying,
is where he
at
finds
some point, it's like,
satisfaction.
well, hell, I don't even have to go to work no more.
So I think if we get to a point where we don't have to worry about dying if no one works, right? We're not that situation. People want to do things. People love doing.
I get it.
If you gave me $5 million, I said, what did I say I'd do with $5 million? I'd publish a book. I would continue pursuing that.
I get that.
And I think the
but we're nowhere
majority-
near there.
We're not there. That's not going to happen. It might happen eventually.
Other people are gonna have to get to where they want to be on the backs of people before them.
Yeah, but that's going to be part of it. That's going to be getting there. It's the people it's like saying the people who are talking about free college or getting college debt forgiven, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't get my college debt forgiven. This is not fair." Well, if we always have that mindset of, "Well, I didn't have this,"
Then you
then
never get
society
changed.
never improves. And I want. We had this. I think we mentioned this last time. We didn't got it. I want to be jealous of I want to be jealous of the next generation. I want to look at them and be, damn, you guys have it so much fucking easier than me. I want to even play a little bit. I might just because it's part of it. I might be like, back in my day we had battery lives that only last. I want to complain a little bit. I want that opportunity for them.
When men plant trees that they'll never sit in the shade of.
Exactly. I want to be jealous of the next generation.
Yeah, I do. But at the same time, it's so easy for people to manipulate the system, take advantage of the system. I mean, yeah, everybody deserves to eat that food, right? But at the same time, if we give everything, who's to say that they don't stop? I mean, who's not? I mean, we obviously know people take advantage of those things.
Well, if we get to the point where we can feed everybody, right, or we can do it, regardless, does it? I think food is a human right, and I think housing is a human right. The problem is getting there. But if we get to a situation where we can logically and financially get it to where everyone gets food and everyone gets housing, if they don't do anything with their lives, if food, water, and housing is a human right, that's their prerogative. If we can manage that.
Yes, but here's what happens. Here's the other side of the story. When you're out there working your ass off, and there's people sitting there playing Xbox, eating food that you provide, I mean, you're going to get a backlash. These guys are going to be like, "What the hell, man?
That's the situation.
Why the hell isn't he working?
It's
He's
not
fine."
viable right now.
I mean, I'm going to say this, and I have been poor my whole life, and I'll probably die in a similar situation.
I hope not. I hope you have
Yeah,
millions.
because you want my money.
I do want your money. That'd be
Yeah, that's
awesome.
why.
But still, you know.
Um, I've been poor. I can remember times, eating out of the trash can. I can remember times, so I'm not speaking from an elitist
Yeah,
by
you are not.
no means at
Absolutely
all.
not.
And I really worked really
I
hard,
respect you for everything you've got. That's
really
wonderful.
worked
Yeah.
really hard to get to where I'm at, which is in a great spot, but it's a lot better than where I started. And while saying that, I will tell you, you're going to look at people that take advantage of the situation, and it's going to infuriate those other people. They're going to
Absolutely.
be,
Well,
why do they
it's
get to do it and I
not
don't?
viable right now is the thing.
Yeah.
Because what I was saying is if they didn't want to do things with their life, it's fine. That would mean that person who's doing all this work would look at them and say, you know what? I'm done. I'm going home, going to have my dinner. We can't do that right now. I mean, there's also the situation of I have to work every day. You have to work every day. There is also that person who not only doesn't have to work every day, but he's not getting the bare minimum. He's born into wealth and he has everything he could ever want and ever will want. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's not fair. I'm
It's
doing
not
all this.
fair, but it's
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
it's pretty
I
awesome.
have to think about it.
But one day, I'm a big sci-fi fan. One day maybe AI will do all the hard stuff that's
Maybe. And we
required.
didn't get into AI at all,
Yeah,
which we did a lot on the last time, but
AI
I just
sucks
list
right now. Well, it's got some good stuff, but AI and art sucks. I was gonna say
yeah,
that
I'm just
much.
gonna say that I was just listening to the ChatGTP, the guy, the chairman, I guess you would say. He was on Theo Vaughn, and it was interesting to listen to him talk.
Yeah,
There's a lot of changes coming down our way, but I think even he and Theo Vaughn both were both on the same tack that there's a human connection that people need. And
yeah.
I've noticed it in myself when I'm watching like videos or memes or something online, and I see AI. It's just there's no. It's like yeah, it's funny, it's
Um,
cute, but it's no connection
I'm
there.
gonna get on a little conspiracy theory here. I agree with you there. The issue is big companies who make media. A, if there's no need for us to make art anymore, that means people who make art can go do minimum wage jobs. So they have more workers. B, if everyone is okay with consuming slop, they're said I'm satisfied. That's all I need. Then all they have to produce is cheap slop and make the same profit.
Yeah,
So there's an attempt to degrade our media literacy as a society so that we are all okay with accepting the worst media. So that way there is no more good media because no one cares enough. And it's not going to
but
happen with my generation,
you're
but
not. I think you're gonna see a kickback.
you will, but there is an active attempt, I would
I
say.
no, I see that. I see that happening, but I also see that people will they don't care. They don't care if it's real or if it's not. Whatever makes money,
Yeah,
that's where they're going to
that's
go
what they're
for.
aiming for.
And so when they realize that this is someone, I don't want to sound like my grandmother when she said the internet, that computers were a fad, but when they realize that this is kind of a fad situation,
Honestly,
and people will
sad,
always
but
want, oh yeah, it is. I mean, you can see some of the AI stuff that pops up go away quickly.
yeah,
Not that it's going to go away completely, but yeah, I'm going to say that you're always going to want that human touch.
I think they're going to fight for it, though. I think there's going to be an active effort to degrade our media
I
literacy.
disagree with
I
that.
think they'll
I see
probably
there being
lose.
yeah, I see them try, but I don't think it's going to be much of a fight when they realize,
Yeah,
oh, people still long for that human
yeah,
interaction.
because once, I mean, I've had to consider one thing is how do I feel about AI in political commentary? Because South Park used AI to imitate Trump and all this. And I've come to the kind of conclusion that politics are a weird area in arts where things that are normally off the table, I'm gonna be okay with. Because if you're gonna make a satire of Trump, it's gonna be much more beneficial to have Donald Trump there. If you're gonna make a satire of, let's say, me, it's gonna be much more useful to have me there. So generally speaking, I am anti AI in art. There are some places I'm okay with it. Also, if you're just bored and you're like, "Hey, Chat GPT, write me a goofy story. I want to laugh." That's not art. But if you like it, that's fine. That's just don't try to sell that to me.
Yeah.
That's the situation I find myself at. That's my AI opinions,
Well,
very
we'll get.
very briefly
See, I think this
contained.
is episode 19, so we'll wait till we get to 40. We'll do another one of these
Yeah,
episodes, or maybe everybody might love you.
yeah,
This might be the
yeah,
keep them talking Tristan show
yeah.
next,
It's
and
a
that'd be
weird
great.
taste to
I'm
sow,
great,
but
or
yeah,
maybe we do a. I think I've told you from the beginning I wanted you to have a mic and a camera
yeah,
on you so that you can interact more.
yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Maybe.
So, so that we're wrapping up this episode with my son Tristan, and I've told people before. I mentioned this last time. I want to bring it up again so it gets out there. Um, I've had people, I've talked to people about you, and I tell them, Tristan has a lot of quirky things that drive me crazy. He, you know, he goes out the back door of the studio and then he comes in the front door because he can't remember which back door he came in.
They all look the same.
And I'm like, oh, what's going on
They
here?
all look the same.
And yeah, just how many times you've lost your keys in your wallet and
My key is somewhere in my car. My current car, I don't. I can press a
I
button,
mean,
so it's just lost in my
and how
car.
many times you come in and in the middle of a conversation and start off on some crazy out of this world
Yeah.
explanation. But all the things that may irritate me about you, if I could get rid of them by losing one of the good qualities that I really consider that I'm proud of before I would turn it down instantly.
Yeah.
You're the man that I would like to be. I consider myself maybe a little tall, a little.
You're definitely more masculine, just
Yeah,
overall than me.
you're a
That's.
tough guy though, man. I've seen you. I've told you to
I
take
mean,
some hits, and
yeah.
you are contrary to the belief. You're there. You work.
I mean, yeah.
Not that you want to.
I hate it.
You don't have to love
I
it.
mean, I like working on the podcast,
I've
but
seen you do everything from sanding, old cars to answering phones. So,
answering the phone's the
and I
worst of
don't,
it.
and I don't say that you're anything wrong with trying to have a little bit of a easier life and
That's what I'm
enjoy in
going
what you
for. Yeah.
do. I wish that I could do that more. Um, so all that being said, I have a few questions that I always ask podcast guests, or I try to. I miss it sometimes. What? Let's see. Let's start off with: Are you happy?
I think so. I think I'm the happiest I've been in a long time currently. I think I have a lot of good things in my life. My life is pretty easy, all things considered. I don't. I talk to all my friends. They're like, yeah, my dad roundhouse kicks me every day. I'm like, what the fuck is going on with your life? My life is very easy compared to a lot of people. Um, I'm pursuing what I love. I'm working with people I really care about. I have a lot of friends. I have all that. I have bouts of depression, but I think most people do. So on average, I'm happy. I think and getting better, hopefully.
Yeah. I think it's impossible to really even notice happiness if you don't have some kind of
Exactly.
depression or maybe something that
You
makes you
gotta
work.
have
A human being
emphasizes.
needs some kind of struggle. That's what
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot lately. Humans need a struggle. They can't just, and you've seen that in the movie Matrix when they were telling Neo, the first Matrix we did, it was pure perfect.
And we
Everything,
couldn't
and
handle
people
it.
couldn't, there wasn't, it
There's
wasn't
no
going to work.
satisfaction in life. If
Yeah. Yeah. We need that.
for evolutionary reasons, we're coded to almost die, barely survive. Like, whoa, I did it. If we don't have that, it kind of confuses
Now,
us.
I'm going to ask you this question. I've had one of our other family members, when I asked them this, kind of get really dark. So please don't get that dark.
I don't
But
think I will.
what is the meaning of life?
Okay, so I'm gonna get sounding dark at first, but it's not really.
All right.
I am a optimistic nihilist. There is absolutely no meaning to life. We are not here for any reason whatsoever. Pure chance, and that is awesome because I can find what I love to do in this world, and I can do it, and I can care about other people and want them to also be happy and pursue their happiness because humans are naturally empathetic. It's beneficial for us, evolutionarily speaking, to care about other humans. So I'm gonna embrace that, be a good human being, and care about other people, and that's beautiful that there is, in my opinion, there is no God out there who said, Tristan, your purpose is to fulfill this. And I'm like, well, what if I don't want to do that? I get one life. I don't want to waste it
Yeah.
being a cog. So that's where I stand.
All right. I respect that. I always want my children to find their own way.
Absolutely.
I've given them how I feel about things. And 'cause I don't truly believe a belief is something that can be told. You
No,
have to find it.
you have to believe
So
it.
I hope that, and one of my ultimate goals is to always have, my children be happy and healthy. And I always say that when they're sitting around the table of friends when they're 40 and they're talking about their dad, they're like, he was all,
Oh,
he
let's
did
talk
good.
great about you.
I'd hate to think that they're saying, what a
Also,
piece of crap he
I
was.
always talk great about you. And one of my friends made a high school paper about your pancakes that were so
Yeah.
good. So you're in good standing with me and
Well,
all
you
my
don't have to toot my
friends.
horn. Enjoy it, man. Just one of my
Absolutely.
favorite times is having podcasts, and you're an integral part of it.
It's a
And I
lot more
hope,
fun when I'm not stressing over there trying to
yeah.
make sure everything's working right.
Well, I think that that's going to be a little easier as we go. We,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
continue to improve and our knowledge and the equipment to working on and the
absolutely.
new studio here, the Win Media Studio. They're going to have multiple podcast rooms set up,
Yeah,
pretty sophisticated,
yeah.
and some streaming rooms and stuff. And it's all here local in Paducah, Kentucky,
Great area.
downtown Paducah.
A lot of great coffee
I
shops
think we're
area
one of
too. It's
yeah,
perfect.
it's a very artsy place. I think if not we are definitely one of the going to be a part of one of the only studios like this in the area. So pretty cool. You can come in, do your podcast, and just walk away. You don't have to worry about.
As an artist, I have to appreciate the fact that we're helping
Yeah.
local artists who might be needing this
Just
opportunity.
and as far as plugging our podcast, man, we've had some struggles, but we've had some really awesome guests. I mean, we
Oh, for
looking back.
sure.
I mean, we're gonna have to do that look back over soon.
Yeah.
Maybe we hit 50, 50 episodes. We're gonna do a look back and
Who's
like,
your favorite so far? I don't know if we could say that, but
ooh, that's a tough one, man. Favorite. Hmm, I can't say they're all the
I think,
each and every one because we have such a diverse group.
yeah, we have everyone.
It's such a diverse group. Like you take somebody like Brad
Yeah.
Henson and his knowledge and his ability to speak, his ability to speak so intellectually,
About faith.
but stay in a
Yeah.
simple term. Um, and then you get somebody like Jonathan Ivey, who's somebody I've respected forever.
Absolutely.
It's
We're
just
great guys.
and you look at his intelligent level is as high as anybody's we've had in what he does.
Yeah, absolutely.
He
Well, these are
is
all experts in their field.
experts. And
And
then,
we
Brianna and Shelby and Lexa, and
we
Yona, Danny Stoner, Michael Shoecraft, all these people, man. I
very
just so
talented.
and some people I've known for a while and I've learned some new things. And there's some brand new people like Jerry and Edie,
Speaking of them,
Edie.
yeah, we did Highgrass Studios, which
Yeah,
is the indie horror group,
yeah,
on Saturday. We filmed it Saturday. I came in the next day to film Jonathan Ivey, who is a
yeah,
professional fighter. So if you guys want to like get a feel on how just diverse and like not strange in a good way, that how the tonal whiplash you can get, watch those two episodes back to back to get the
yeah.
experience I
Completely
had.
different group.
Yeah, which they were probably
But
my I'd say they were probably my favorite Highgrass Studios, just because
well, they're arts.
they associate with the things I associate with.
Well,
Yeah,
for me, I enjoy all of them because I enjoy learning. I enjoy hearing stories, and I wouldn't want to just, I'm trained fighters for years, but I don't want to sit here and just talk to fighters all the time. I
yeah,
enjoy talking to them. It was reminiscent.
yeah,
I get to keep up with things. I've done food, but I wouldn't want to just be a food show.
yeah.
I'm doing this to
And
be more,
and as a writer, that means I get exposure to people of all kinds of groups, people of all, like, for sure.
connections.
I'm going to have a character that's going to be inspired by the discussion of faith we had with Brad. If I'm going to have stories about martial arts, the fact that I've had this insight, talking to these people about what it's like to be a martial artist and the different kinds of martial artists, because Jonathan Ivey is a very different kind of martial artist than Yona was. They have very different views on how traditional martial arts works and how that place and that's
Yeah, they both have a connection together.
they both,
They
yeah,
speak very highly of each other.
exactly. It's
Yeah, and the guests we got coming up, we've got let me just think real quick. We have a World Series of Poker player.
yes, I remember that one.
He's coming in. We have someone, the Paducah Housing Authorities. They coming on
Hey,
board.
we had a much conversation about housing. That could be
Yeah,
opportunity for that.
that's a really good point there. And
Maybe
then
they'll be like, yeah, we could do it super easy. We just
we have
haven't.
sports card collectors coming in.
Yeah, that'll be
I can't even think of all
that'll
that.
be an interesting one.
We have a lot of, and they're actually part of your family.
And I have some people I mentioned bringing on who I've talked to
Yeah.
in my circles who I think would
And
be very
we'd also
interesting.
like to reach out to anybody who'd like to be on the podcast. You can go to our website and click over to
Absolutely. Hey,
suggest a
Donald
guest.
Trump, I talked a lot of shit about you, but you can come on and talk shit about me back if you want. Come on.
Though, here's one, and not a lot of people, this will be a controversial one. But I have the opportunity, maybe, Andy, for sure.
Sure, yeah.
I just kind of talked to somebody
Yeah.
about that earlier.
I mean,
So,
yeah.
I'm not here's the thing. I may not agree with people.
Absolutely.
And you as listeners you may not agree with some of the people that we have on here, but you shouldn't be afraid of what they have to say.
Absolutely.
I listened to Gavin Newsom today, and I actually I'm like, you know what? He makes a point there, even though everything else I see about him is wrong.
If you're afraid of someone what they're going to say, you don't believe what you're saying you're believing. Because
Yeah, you need to
yeah.
understand what
Well,
you're fighting against.
also, like, if I was afraid of what Donald Trump was going to say, that signifies my belief is based purely on me not knowing. I'm scared of being wrong.
Yeah.
I am. If Donald Trump says a point, I'll agree with it. He's said points where I might, even like, I think at one point, and I don't think Donald Trump gives a shit about trans people. I care a lot about them. I don't want to name their names because it's a rough area to be trans, but I know some trans people. And but at one point he was talking about how we need to be more careful with these trans medication. We need more transparent on the side effects.
I
And
100% agree
as
with that.
someone who cares about people who are transitioning, because I'm close with a lot of them, I want them to be safe. I don't want them to have medical issues. I agree with him there, yeah. But he said a lot of other things. I'm like, oh, dude, you can't say that. What's
Yeah.
wrong with you? So
Well,
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
scared of what he has to say.
Yeah. So I'll leave it. We'll leave the podcast with that. If you disagree with someone, and this is why I'm saying this, because I want you to listen to our podcast. That's a
Absolutely,
big
yeah.
thing. Yeah. I want you to listen, and I want you to listen to different people. I want you to listen to people you would never agree with, and I want you to listen to them because you're not afraid of what they have to say. And if you're going to fight somebody, you need to understand them, but you
Absolutely,
might
yeah.
actually realize there's not even a reason to fight.
Yeah.
You might go, "Oh, I never seen it from that perspective. Not necessarily my perspective, not necessarily my choice, but you start to drop,
You do you
and
kinda, yeah.
that is where we start getting unity, and that's what makes us stronger.
Yeah, as a
The
nation,
more
that's
of us,
America is a
the
melting
more
pot. Yeah,
right.
we've all come together, and there's some bad elements to that, but
Oh,
that's
there's
where
some
also our
horrible people.
strongest stuff comes from,
There's some horrible people doing horrible things every day.
Absolutely.
I can remember, and I'll leave it. I said I was going to, but I was on the. I had gotten in a little spiff myself at one time, and I can remember being taking a lot of flack, and I was riding home with someone, and after so long, I kind of got tired of, hey, maybe I messed up, and I'm not perfect, but I'm like, do you realize how many horrible people we've driven by between
Yeah,
point A and point B? The horrible skeletons they have in the closet, the things that you don't know about them, the things that you may be sitting next to them. Uh, and I'm gonna, you could be sitting next to them in church, you could be next to them in a poker room, you could be next to them in a restaurant. You don't know,
horrible
and,
people.
and to sit there and put that on. And also, let's just say this, people can change, people can make a change, and we have to be able.
Yeah,
You
we have
can't judge them solely on everything that they've done. Now we got to use that as a guide, but we also have to understand it. Like, hey, maybe I don't see
everyone
it
makes
that way.
mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah. We see that a lot in racism. We see that a lot in things like that where people, they grew up a certain way,
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
they were like, well, you made a valid point. I didn't ever really think about it that
A
way.
lot of
So
people,
we have to give people the opportunity to grow.
if someone wants to grow, I can I mean, if someone's like, I want to be a better person, and they're trying and they still murder a bunch of children, maybe that's a little too far for me. I'm like,
Well, yeah, of
I
course.
can't go to jail, man. I'm sorry. But if someone wants to be a better person, I want them to be a better person too. I
Yeah.
want more good in this world. I don't want more bad.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to make some changes.
Absolutely.
So hopefully our podcast puts a little bit of something out there that
Donald
maybe
Trump,
makes people think.
Donald Trump's going to watch this and become a liberal.
Donald Trump can be,
He's going to be a liberal after seeing this. He's
I
going to
don't know
change his
about that, but
ways. I mean, he was before,
I
wasn't
might
he?
be a little
Like,
more forgiving in
he
that
was,
situation. But
yeah.
and because I just don't see that they have the. Anyways, we'll drag this on
Oh,
forever.
we can go on
We
all
were
night long.
talking
Yeah.
about closing her down. So my son, thank you for coming on the
Of course.
podcast.
Thank you
Thank you
for
for
having me. I was,
thank you for always being there.
of course.
One other little plug for you. I tell people, I say, there's very few people in this world that I actually fully believe and trust.
Yes.
I've been led down the primrose path a few times too many. Family, friends, and people that say, I've got your back, I'll be there for you always. And I've had a lot of people kind of bounce on me. My son, I always say, I could call him at 11 o'clock at night, tell him to get up, go to this address. When someone answers the door, punch them in the face and go back home until you're arrested. And he would do it. I
Yeah.
truly believe he would, because he's got my back. And you know why? Because he knows I've got his. There's
Absolutely.
nothing, I
Yeah.
wouldn't do for you.
Like I said, I talk to friends who are like, yeah, my dad roundhouse kicks me on the regular. I'm like, "Ah, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I have the coolest dad ever, and
And you
everyone
probably got a
else.
lot better roundhouse kick too.
Yeah, if he roundhouse kicked me, it'd be a problem too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be telling people about it.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
All right. Well, buddy,
Yeah, of course.
I love you like a son.
It was great. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it was great being
You can
on.
really, it'd be really hard for you to do wrong.
Yeah,
I have to say that. So let's keep this thing up. We'll do it.
absolutely.
We'll see how this does. I mean, hey, if it could be a regular thing. I had thought about doing a Mojo.
Just
So
you,
we talked
yeah,
about it, but I think this is more fun.
yeah. We'll bring some friends on one time. I
Absolutely.
think
Yeah.
I talk a lot
I
about.
want to hear from
Yeah, I talk a lot about my
everybody.
friend Greg. I think I wouldn't even say much. I just want to see you two go back and forth
Let's
because
go.
you're two of the people I find the most interesting. So I want to see what happens.
Let's go.
All
Sounds
right.
good. All right. Good night,
All
everybody.
right. Night.
What exactly happened down there?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I talked to him and blah, blah, blah. He asked about you guys and da, 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 more questions, blah, blah, blah.